Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another live stream with me, 320 Sim Pilot. Great to see you all here. Welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us. We are going to be taking this fantastic Manta DC-6, is the PMDG DC-6, of course, in Microsoft Flight Simulator, for a flight from two of my favorite airports. We're going from Kristiansand up to Alesund. I'm going to have to reverse this route at some point because I also want to fly back into Kristiansand. But yeah, I'm a big fan of a lot of these airports around here, and it should be good fun. Also a great excuse to use the glorious Manta Airlines retro livery that Paddy originally created for the A320 NEO, but now we finally see it in its proper setting on the sort of the classic post-war piston airliners. So great stuff. Thank you all for joining me. Or joining us, I should say, for the flight today. It's been a little while. It's been a long while, actually, so I apologise if I'm a bit rusty. We have had some videos on the channel. No, I haven't been flying, sadly, but some other things have been getting in the way a little bit of the actual live streams. And I took a little bit of a break from some of the YouTube, so I spaced out some of my videos, and yeah, now we're back. So it's good fun. I've been looking forward to this one. So jumping into the chat, good to see you, Becky, Davies, thanks for coming, Savage Haters, Marcus, thank you all for joining us, Victor Tango, of course, thanks for coming and moderating. Dougal McTavish, I hope you're doing well. Hot, yeah, indeed. Same here. My computer room is slowly going up in temperature the longer my computer sits here on the loading screen. Checkpoint, great to see you. Yeah, sadly not much flying, but I have my fingers crossed for next month. Yeah, I have my fingers crossed. Victor Tango, yeah, I hope you're doing well. And Jonathan Gunthazer, thanks for coming along. Loads of names I recognise. Pavel, AC455, great to have you here. I've already said Victor Tango. Thomas, I hope you're doing well. Thomas says, I hope you can show me how to trim this baby out. Yeah, we'll do our best. We'll do a bit of manual flying, a bit of automatic flying, ending in a VOR approach, no doubt, into Alesund, possibly an RS. We'll see what we end up with. Dougal says, this aircraft could have been made for this amazing Manta livery. Yeah, what a coincidence, that this plane came out. So yeah, no doubt about it. Right, Emma Wickens, good to see you. Tom Corwine, I hope you're doing well. Matteo, good to see you, Matteo. Thanks for coming and moderating. Matteo's a long-time member of the channel, but been very busy with work lately, which is good news. But sadly, sounds like Matteo's got COVID. Oh dear, and I hope you feel better very soon. Yeah, fingers crossed that doesn't keep you out of action for too long. But thanks, good to see you here. Kai, good to see you as well. Kai's getting ported with rain, very good. Ed Islam, hope you're doing well. Great to see you here as well. And Hanzao, Jetpack away, and Callum. Great. Sim Therapy, Santiago Perez, J-Bay, good to see you guys. Right, I can only apologise. I have turned on subscriber only chat. So if you're watching and you want to join in the chat, you can click subscribe. It's just a little test. It's all free. If you want to subscribe to the channel, then you can join in the chat, and it's available. But if you're just watching along, then it doesn't matter either way. But yeah, that's just a little test. It's a new feature YouTube's provided, so it usually takes me about 6 months to try out any new feature, but I couldn't resist giving it a go. And I say couldn't resist. I don't really know why, but we'll see if it's any difference. But yeah. You simply subscribe if you want to chat. Just hit subscribe. I mean, you can see the motivation. It's pretty transparent, so I can see why it's there. Rajan, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Jason as well. Hope you're doing very well. Right, here we are then. We're on stand in Kristiansand, a little Norwegian airfield on the south side of Norway. And we're going to head up. Flight time around about 1 hour 40. We might do it a little bit quicker than that. I wanted to jump into the DC-6 because we flew it once on the Buffalo Airways route. And it was a lovely flight, but the ending was not so great. I wasn't too pleased with my approach. So we're going to do a slower, calmer approach today. We're going to follow some of the PMDG tutorials, which I've been watching carefully, and try and use some of their piston engine techniques. So yeah, as you can see, this livery just unreal, so nice. So this is basically exactly how it looks, or how it's set up on the A320 NEO and the 321 that we have in X-Plane. But here it is, the name along the front. I love the stripes coming off the windows. Thank you very much for your subscription to Adam. I hope you're doing very well. Yeah, and as you're along the windows, that lovely retro text Manta Airlines. This is, of course, registered as GSIM-X, which is was later converted into the A320, as Paddy helpfully points out on the website. And I love this tail fin design. Yeah, really great. And Paddy came up with this this little Manta logo here as well. There's sort of a 2D retro style over the slightly more. It's not 3D that we've got on the other ones, but we've got our you'll all be familiar with the house sort of Manta logo that we use. So yeah, I think it looks absolutely stunning, of course. And a great feature of this livery is those engine nacelles. I think the engine pods look really nice, especially when you jump into the wing views. I'm just taking a moment to sort of soak in the there you go, Manta and then Simwings on the other side. Soak in the DC-6. It's been a little while, and it's I mean, I feel like these add-ons are releasing so quickly now, because we flew this only a month ago, and it felt like yesterday. But yeah, there we go. So it looks absolutely lovely, doesn't it? And I really like flying this. This is a really interesting add-on. It's right up my street, being a sort of an airliner, so I can use it on routes that I'm sort of used to. But it's a totally different style of flying. But yeah, these engine pods, absolutely love the design there. That pink just stands out so nicely. Metal Lord, good to see you. Yeah, I agree. DC-6 is good fun to fly. And the H1302, good to see you as well. Thanks for coming and for moderating. I hope you're doing very well. Lauren V says, can't wait until that Voidero Q500 is flyable. Yeah. So this is the ORBX Kristiansand. So it's got some AI traffic. I'm not sure. We may have some people flying along with us, actually. I know a few said they might try. Sorry about the stream. We're actually an hour later than I originally intended, but I got all evening now to just chill out and stream, so that's gonna much better. Parasim says, I just can't face the heat coming from outside and Microsoft Flight Simulator. No, I know. So yeah, so this is a lovely airport, like a lot of these ones in Norway. Very small, very quiet, but well equipped. Non-precision approach on one runway. You'll notice as well the departures are all going to be RNAV, so we'll have to do this sort of non-RNAV omnidirectional departure. But there we go. Right, anyway, enough droning around and droning on for me. So let us set up our wing view. Which wing view do we fancy? I'm thinking that would be the classic, and then we'll leave the drone alone. And here we are, just having walked up our steps. We'll head over into the flight deck, take our seat. Now, this is it's a hot day, and you can actually see what's quite fun is you can look at the temperature gauges, and you can see here they're sitting at, what's that, 20 degrees. Now I have no idea. I mean, that's still in the head temperature. I don't know if that's because it's been refreshed or what it's done, but yeah, I think it's a relatively warm day. I haven't got my radios on, so I haven't got an ATIS, but we've got the windows open. What we can do is let's close up the stairs. Let's get rid of all the covers, sort of things the engineers would have done for us. Oh, we'll leave the GPU. I'll click cold and dark, and we'll close up some of the holds outside, and soon enough it'll look pretty shipshape and ready to go. We've got 50 passengers today. We've taken, I'll just check the fuel in a second actually. Thank you to Abakwe, sorry if I got that wrong, Brian, and SLRP for your subscriptions. Nicholas, good to see you, thanks for coming along. AC455 says, do you think my CRJ 700 will be able to land at the arrival? Oh yeah, definitely. The 320 goes into Alesund, no problem. Yeah, CRJ 700 will be absolutely fine. So yeah, we should be alright with the DC-6. I did try it out. And let's close up the last two. Why are they not closing? What do I need to do? Oh, there we go. I see. There we go. Right, so we're going to use the AFE, obviously, to run the before start checklist. We are on VATSIM, so if any of you are flying along, that's where we'll be. So, engineer powers it all up for us. This is great. So you can see up here, what are these switches? Always get fiddled with. So that's the generator control. Generator control is coming online, and you can see that we're on the ground power because the light is on, telling us that it's running through that bus. Etaslam says, I really need to improve my descent in this bird, so any tips you have would be great. Yeah, I'm practicing today, basically. You're going to watch me practice, so if you guys have any tips. It seems to be all about making sure you just plan early. The 3-degree descent in this is quite tricky. I think you have to go down a bit earlier because you don't want to go down on idle. Sort of not good for the engines to keep changing the power around according to the PMDG tutorial videos, which I can see makes sense. You don't want to shock cool them either, where they just sort of get drained with ice cold air in the descent at idle power. Ooh. Sometimes, there we go, they've closed those. I'm going to move the flaps to the right place. Gear is down.
Pins. Removed. 3 on board. Seat belts and pedals. Adjusted. Throttles.
Jonathan says, no ATC for now in Norway. Luckily, someone will pop in during the flight. Excellent.
Set to idle.
Airport name, Sim Therapy is ENCN. Kristiansand. That's where we're starting anyway. Let me know if the audio is loud enough. Can you hear that engineer at all? And I will adjust it if not. Andy says, I took the 737-200 into Alesund. Very good. Right, so the next step is start engines. So let's just... I mean, it's just so easy, isn't it? And the more you sit in this... Like, you sit down at first and it's unbelievable. You go, well, I'm never going to learn all this. But then the more you sit in it and listen to those flows, the more it makes sense. And we discovered quite a few things last time. We even pressurized, which I might try out today as well. Not there. Oh, no, it was there. Yeah, this was the pressurization one, wasn't it? So, yeah, it does start to make sense. Let's just set the right Q and H. Okay. And what I'm going to do is just show you fuel and load. We've got 50 passengers. Got some of their bags. Not a very long flight, so they shouldn't have too many. Taking 16,000, just over 16,000 pounds of fuel. We required 3.7 tons in kilograms, so that was about 8,200 pounds. So we got twice the fuel required, or twice the yeah, that was the actual fuel required figure. Let me just check that before I embarrass myself. Yeah, block fuel was 3.7 tons, so we should have loads of fuel. I was watching. I don't know how many of you have seen it. There is a fantastic. No ideas. No, Martin. Thanks for coming along. But I was watching a fantastic video, an old video of United about their DC-6, 30-minute video a day in the life of what the crew and the airplane does. And yeah, they flew it. You know, they'd fly it from California to Chicago. So these were some long old flights. Right. So next step is getting engine starts. I'm just going to go onto Unicom. Radios are down here, but these aren't used anymore. So they've all been fitted with normal VHF radios. And now, there we go, 1228, that's worked, good. So I'm just going to let everybody know. Kristiansand traffic, Manta 285, starting engine, stand 16. Right, close up the windows, get very noisy. So you can actually reposition them wherever you want, and it loads it in the right place, which is quite nice. And you click that, and in it goes. Do the same for the FO. Oh. Seal it up, and it suddenly gets quieter inside, which is great. Thanks, Lethin. Glad you enjoy them. Santiago Perez says it's an awesome vid. Amazing how they worked back then. Yeah, I agree. I'm glad you've seen it. Yeah, it's a fascinating one. YouTube recommended it to me today, funnily enough. Must have seen me. Sim Therapy, I'm on VatSim. Not available in game, I'm afraid. So you won't see me in the actual simulator. Right. I'm assuming the audio is okay, if everyone thinks so. And yeah, you guys, you're all subscribed, so you let me know how you find the chat, if you prefer it available to everyone or just subscriptions. I mean, the channel's always free, it's all free, so it's whatever people want to do. But I suppose some people might not have an account, but then if you don't have an account, you wouldn't be able to chat anyway. So I don't know if that matters. Don't want to overthink it, but there we go. So we've got our fuel on board. We've got the ground power unit. Before I check this down, next step is to start the engines. We've got plenty of extra fuel, so it won't matter if we sit here burning the fuel for a bit too long. Dougal says, okay, so who's counted the bolts and rivets? Yeah, we should do. We should compare it to that video.
Scandinavian 105,
There's a Scandinavian starting up as well. Excellent. We're going to start with engine 3. It always sets you up for engine 3. So you have the start selector up here, set to engine 3. We got the fuel booster pump for engine 3 on low, so it's going to get some fuel. I'm going to put the magnetos to both, which provides obviously the sparks for the pistons, and I'm going to put the mixture to auto rich. Love anything called auto. Now, every time I start this airplane, I forget something, so I'm going to run through that again. Fuel pump's on, starter selector's on 3, magnetos are on, fuel's on down here. It's definitely number 3. Let's try it. So we push these two together. The engineer will count the propeller blades. There's 3, 6, 9, 12. There we go. Then we can click these two together. And nothing happens. I knew this would happen. What have I done? Like I say, this is I practiced this. I think I've started this airplane at 4 times since yesterday because it's been so long. I was determined to get it right. First try. What have I done? These are definitely an idle. They're a bit high, but that shouldn't matter. It's engine number 3. This hasn't been pulled. That was our trick last stream. I remember that we accidentally pulled these, and they're fine. What I did find was I had to go into Engine Manager and just repair some engines after some of my flying, but they're all topped up. Okay. Let's try it again. And in the meantime, you guys would have seen what I've done wrong, I'm sure. So that's it spinning.
3,
I have found if you change view too quickly,
6,
it goes wrong.
9, 12.
There it is. Maybe I was a bit late. Ooh, there must be some thunderstorms outside near me. So, there we go. It worked. I was obviously just too late. Boost after 6, prime right before 12 to Schwig. There we go. Yeah, sounds like a good plan. Don't do anything. Don't change view or anything until these are all recentered. Because they all, so you see the 2 in the middle, the starters, and then they all do it themselves. So there we go. Engine number 3, going to come down here. And we want to make sure that we have some oil pressure, which we do. It's a bit low, but it's, you know, the engine's running at idle. It's got fuel pressure, obviously. It wouldn't be running. Let's go for engine number 4. I'm not entirely sure which order they would do it in, but this is the order I'm doing it in. So, mixture is also rich. Fuel pumps on low. Selectors to 4. Magnetos are on both. Here we go.
3,
So boost after 6. Let's try that.
6,
Boost.
9, 12.
Prime. There it goes. And you'll notice the manifold pressure sitting at 30 because it's that's the sort of ambient pressure. So the engine's running when the air's getting sucked through it, so it's actually running lower than ambient pressure. It's all very strange, but this is why we get carburetor icing, I suppose. In that video I watched, the United video that some of you have seen, 3421. Thanks, Pavel. We'll do number 2 then. So let's get the fuel for number 2. Yeah, in that video they said that the carburetor on one of these engines, these Wasp 2,200 horsepower engines or whatever they are, over 2,000 horsepower each, the carburetor is bigger than a normal sort of car engine, just for some context. Number 2. So we got fuel, selector, magnetos, fuel. Let's give it a go. And he says, got CBs and distant rumbling thunder near me too. Yeah. Might cool us down just before bed. The only problem is if you can't... Oh, bit late. Problem is if you can't close the windows, that's when it all goes wrong, doesn't it? Sorry, can't open the windows. Okay, time for number 1. Kai says, have you been given a preview version of the Indie Builds A310? I asked because lots of other streamers, such as Flight Deck Sim, streaming with the Beauty right now. No, I haven't. I do not have any access to that. Boost up to low. Selectors of 1. That's on both. Get the fuel on. And let's try it out. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a lovely airplane. But I actually wasn't aware it was so close.
5,
That's boost.
12.
Prime. 4 engines. Come on. That'll be great news. 32.5 in Dougal's room. That is a bit much. Yeah, I know I've had to find a fan. Dig the fan out of the storage. Too late on the primer booster rig. Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't. I wonder why. I wonder why turning it over, because we turn it over to check for any sort of lock in the engine and check all the things are flowing around, I suppose. But I didn't realise you could do it too late. Anyway, those switches all center. You could turn the, things that they're going to do now is turn the selector off. I think the fuel pumps actually go off and then they'll be put back on for takeoff. The ground power will swap over to the plane battery. So, I'm starting to get the idea of it. But I'm going to cheat anyway. One day we'll do a full flight, but I'm going to let the engineer do it.
Start selecting boost pumps.
So start select off, boost pumps go off, yeah, as we said. You can't see that probably actually.
Plane battery.
Battery switch goes to plane, we've done that.
Generators and inverters.
Generators are all on.
And on. Emergency lights. Armed.
Emergency lights, where are they? Over here somewhere?
Removed.
That's downstairs.
After start checks complete.
That's it. So quite a simple after start. It is not the world's most complicated airplane when you start getting into it. Right. Savage says, everyone who watches your live stream is subscribed. Excellent. Excellent. Adam says, when you get comfortable with this bird, you should try celestial navigation. A new add-on that adds a bubble sextant came out recently, and it's a whole nother level. Goodness me, yeah. Thanks, Adam. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I'll have to have a look at that. I can't imagine. Matthew Presley says, any news with your industry recovering over there? No. Well, the news is all bad for its recovery at the moment because of the rise in cases. But so yeah, no good news yet. But it sounds like it's all going well in America, which is nice. Right, we're talking about beer. That's an early one. Okay, up and running. Time for a power back, because that's all I want to do in this airplane. So we'll announce that. Actually, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. What we should have done is, we have a bit of a route loaded in here. So if we go to the nav page, not like that. There it is. We're going from ENCN. Oh, I thought it would be in there. Yes, there it is. Right, so this has us going 1.2 too far, actually. It's got us going first to SVA. We're not going to do that. We're going to go to ZOL. Funnily enough, yeah, this is nonsense. I told a bunch of Flight Simulator this wasn't the route I was going to fly. Anyway, so the GPS is useless, but that's no problem. We weren't going to use it much anyway. What we're going to do is, let's bring up the charts for you all. And this is the plan. We're going to do an omnidirectional departure. Let's check that winds. There was a windsock out there. So we want to take off going that way towards the water over there, up towards the hills. So we are taking off. What have I done? There we go. We're going to take off on runway. This is taking some serious mental gymnastics. It always does. 2-1 or equivalent. What are the runways here? 2-1. There we go. Right. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to climb on track 213 to 700. Then we'll turn left 196. And then expect further clearance. Initial climb clearance 5,000 feet. So that's the plan. We can't select any of that anywhere. What I can do is tune the first VOR we're flying to, which will be the ZOL VOR 11685. I'm going to have to hope that once we climb up a bit, we can actually find it. I do know that our initial track is going to be roughly 296. So runway 21 is sort of a straight out departure for us. So that's all good. Right. So yeah, so that's our departure. And checklists are ready. Aircraft is ready. We've warmed up a bit, so I should really, PMDG like us to use the proper views because they've modelled the parallax error, which is the error you get when you look across an instrument rather than directly at it. Just a bit of a low oil temperature down here on engine 1, obviously the last engine we started. Oil pressure, where's oil pressure? There it is, running low on all of them. But if we just spool them up a bit. And there we go. As soon as we rev the engines and all, get through the harmonics, there we go. So they're all looking good. I've also assigned the reverse to the water rudder. Someone kindly pointed that out in my last video. So if I want to reverse, I can just press that button on my controls. There we go. Kristiansand traffic, Manta 285, pushing back, or powering back from Stan 16. Absolutely love ORBX scenery, of course. We all know it's just excellent. And here we go. So, parking brake off. Check behind us, just the car, no problem. And we want to taxi out the opposite direction, of course. We're going to go up that way and do a bit of a backtrack. This was one of our quickest one. Oh, there we go. Pavel did the water rudder. Thanks for that, Pavel. Yeah, I think, I'm not sure if the Simwings or that 320 NEO could be people flying along. I love the power back. So convenient. The amount of times that a tug's broken or the bar is snapped or they can't find the right driver. If you could just reverse like this every flight. Oh my goodness, brilliant. Come on, airplane. It does take a bit of thrust. It won't. It runs out of steam. Come on, you can do it. Must be seriously uphill here. I'm really revving those engines. That will have to do. And the reason I say that is it's very easy to damage these engines, overheat them. Cylinder head temperatures are all in the green still, so we'll stick with that. This is a massive engine management exercise, this entire flight. So parking brake is on. And the next step is to run the before takeoffs, which we'll do as we taxi out. To show you the taxi routes, I do have it here. We're going to drive up Yankee, Charlie, runway 21. Manta 285, taxiing, Kristiansand traffic, taxiing Golf, Charlie, and backtracking runway 21. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so parking brake off. Away we go. A lot of talk about beer. So what's everyone's favourite beer? I feel like that could be just as controversial as pizza choices. Right, a bit of thrust to get going. We're relatively well loaded today, but it's very easy to manoeuvre on the ground, this plane. Really nice. This is also an amazing airplane to fly in virtual reality, because what you can do is you sit there and you can swing your head around and see that engine out there sort of vibrating around. Absolute joy. There we go. So I'm going to get those other crew to run the before takeoffs, because we can't move the flight controls yet until they get rid of the locks and so on. Yeah, so Dougal's absolutely right. Did you release the gust lock? It's yeah, it comes now. They do it not until taxi, it seems. I'm not sure whether that's normal procedure. I assume it is. Simwings must be AI, says Dougal. Yeah, okay. It's just gone over there. So flaps going to 20. I'm just going to move it on my Thrustmaster as well to make sure it all lines up.
Kristiansand traffic, Scandinavian 105, taxiing behind the departing Manta and holding short of runway.
So we do have a colleague. Excellent. Possibly an A320. Ed likes Asahi. Brian likes Pilsen. JB likes a good IPA. Ah, so there we go. Look, it's such a mix. Here come the lights, finally. Sharp says, had to log on to my PC to chat here. For some reason, it's not letting me on my mobile. Sharp, are you... That's interesting. So on your mobile, are you signed in on your account and subscribed? It should be, but maybe you're using a friend's account or something like that. Oh, no. Don't want to do that. I thought that would be absolutely fine. But no, 24 meters is pretty restrictive. I'm imagining we're over that. I don't actually know the wingspan of the DC-6. It looks to be more than 24. But crucially, we're not going to make it on that taxiway. Right. Clear on the right, which is the way we're going to be taking off. Good. Clear on the left. They've got all the lights on for us. No radar to do. Transponder's already set. And running on out, so that's all good. Shriek says, did I miss the support for porters and stouts? There we go. Morgan Thomas says, what's the longest you've had to taxi? There have been times as a passenger I felt like we were stuck forever. Yeah, I've had taxis where we've had to, you know, if there's a slot delay or something, we've had to shut down and sit there for an hour. Yeah, nothing to see here. Exactly, Andy. Yeah. Yeah, you get taxis. If you're talking about just normal sort of traffic and not a slot delay, 30 minutes is a pretty miserable taxi in Europe. If you have to sit anywhere for sort of 30, I'm sure I've done 40 to 45, worst case. But if you don't have a slot delay and you get that sort of taxi delay just because of traffic, then you know you'll be whinging to air traffic control about fuel by 40 minutes. That's not, we don't normally plan for that unless there's some other reason. Tom says, go to Amsterdam if you want a long taxi time. Yeah, so Amsterdam has long taxis, but they're long in distance. They're not the worst for time, because it's usually quite slick at Amsterdam. So where you arrive at the, you know, when you're in Amsterdam, I don't ever remember having to queue for takeoff. You know, you get there and you've done a long taxi, but when you get to the runway, there's nobody there, or there's one or two airplanes. Obsidian says, hey Captain, can I ask if a controller says keep speed no more than X knots, at what point can you go back to manage speed, or are you stuck at that speed? Yeah, you're stuck at that speed until they tell you otherwise. There is, in a weird way, some people interpret it that if you're flying a standard instrument departure which has speed restrictions, then some people might say once you're off that, i.e. you're given a direct routing, then you can ignore the speed restrictions. It depends on what you want to do. But yeah, if they tell you fly this speed, you're stuck with that. Now, if that speed's no good for you, i.e. it's too slow or it's too fast, then tell them. Just tell them, and they'll happily give you another speed. They nearly always do. No, they always do. They don't have an option, really. Remember, they're there to help us fly around. They're not going to give you a speed you can't reasonably fly. So if it's too fast on approach, then tell them, yeah. And sometimes they forget. So in really busy airports, they'll say, oh, we need you to fly 220 knots, and then you're sort of coming into sort of getting within, you know, passing 12 miles, and they haven't told you anything else. That's time to say, no, we need a new speed, or we're not making this approach. Right, you can hear those brakes squealing, hopefully. See if I can get this line up right. We've done the before takeoff checklist. There we go. Now I'm going to hold it on the brakes here because it seems to be the way it's set up that we do that. Right. Just checking there's no questions, but it's entirely about beer, which is good. So I will move on. Jig Point says the DC-6 has a wingspan of 36 meters, according to my memory. Well, if that sounds reasonable, because it looks, you know, they were hanging over the grass just like a 320. Right, here we go then. Manta 285, Kristiansand traffic, taking off runway 21, departing to the west. So plan here, take off, we're going to climb to 700 feet and then make a left turn, basically south 196, before we can make our right turn en route. We're going to climb to 5,000 feet initially, and I think we are all ready to go. So now we do the takeoff, dry, because we're quite light, and we'll just to remind you guys of those speeds, if you remember, they're all written up here, and essentially we're about 90,000 pounds, so 107 knots is our V2 speed, so rotating just before that should work out absolutely fine. Right, let's go. So, takeoff dry.
30 inches stabilized.
They're going to set 30 inches, which is a manifold pressure. So just like the Airbus with IAE engines, we've got this big BMEP and it gets totally ignored and we set the thing beneath it, just like with M1s and EPR, but there we go. 30 manifold coming on. Love the sound, I hope you guys can hear that.
30 inches stabilized. Cowl flaps. Cowl flaps. Cowl flaps set.
They're closing now so that they don't get too cool once we're in the air. There they go. Takeoff power's being set. Just check the flight controls are working. They are indeed. Let's go. Brakes released. Love the takeoff roll in the DC-6. Such great sounds.
Full power set.
There's full power. It's always a surprisingly short takeoff roll. I'm really quite impressed with it. The bigger problem is the second stage. It's once we're in the air and we're climbing away that this airplane doesn't do the same as a jet. But it does get off the ground quite easily. Nice big straight wing, I suppose. 100s. And there's 107. So let's just tweak the nose up. And that's what I'm going to do. Not going to go any more than that.
Traffic. Scandinavian 105.
Positive climb.
Cleaning
Gear
up
up.
on runway 21 down, departing DC-6.
I'm just going to trim it out there. We want to keep accelerating in this. In a jet aircraft, we've done all our accelerating on the runway. We normally, by this point, are actually losing speed. We tend to raise the nose so much because we'd have gone through V2. So on two engines, by this point, we'll be raising that nose to get that speed back towards V2. Here come the flaps. So I'm just watching the trim. But in the piston, we need to keep it accelerating because if we don't, it will just stay super slow. It's no good at all. So there's 500 feet. We've got to keep going to 700s, which will look a lot different for the Airbus departing after us. So there's METO power, which is maximum except for takeoff. Sort of an intermediate. Here's the marker, by the way. This came up on the Discord recently, so we're overflying a marker. And there's that nose rise. I just had to watch that. Seems to happen as METO power set, where the RPMs are brought back. Anyway, through 700 feet, left to 196. Not much of a change, really. Somewhere there. And we're climbing to 5,000. And away we go. Absolutely glorious. Love it, love it, love it. And this is with the new update. So yeah, look, you can see some churches and so on. Glorious. Leith says, hello, I got Microsoft Flight Simulator. I watched a video on how to turn on the 320 fly-by-wire. Thank you so much. You're very welcome, Leith. Glad you liked it. It's going to take us a while to get to 5,000, but 160 knots sounds like a good climb speed according to PMDG. Still talking about we're onto pizzas, obviously, in the chat. No surprise there. Glad you like the engine sounds, Brian Griffin 787. I absolutely agree. This add-on caught me by surprise. I didn't really expect to enjoy it quite as much as I do. Just amazing. And yeah, Paddy's livery, massively. There you go. You can see that. So according to those Pappies, I'm not sure if they're 3 degrees, but we're barely managing a 3-degree climb out at 160 knots. Thank you for your subscription to Travis Brooks. I hope you enjoy the video.
Kristiansand traffic, Scandinavian 105, taking off at runway 21.
Victor Sanger says, is this supposed to be an aviation stream any chance? Yeah, it was going to be. I also haven't had dinner, and this was a delayed stream, so I'm going to eat after the streams, which is always a problem, because what happens is you guys talk about pizza for 2 hours, and then I finish the stream starving late. Right. Lauren V says, chili on burgers is absolutely a thing, but on pizza, I've heard of curry. Yeah, I've seen bolognese on pizza. It's a thing. It's happened. I don't think there was spaghetti with it. So, next question. We're going to 5,000 feet, but we need to turn on to 296 pretty soon. Hopefully, VOR1, yeah, it's receiving, and it's showing us at 90 miles. I'm going to make that right turn now. There's no air traffic. Gentle, big, heavy airplane. 160 knots. It's very stable. I'm as you can see, the yoke will move when I'm moving my joystick, and you can trim it out, and it just no trouble at all. So we'll keep it at 160. We're going to climb up to 12,000 feet, which is going to be flight level actually. So let us set that. One click on there as well, and I think there's only 2. Thanks Ash for your subscription as well. I hope you enjoy it. And once you subscribe, there's a 5-minute wait, and then you can chat. All of this is just a bit of a test, as in me fiddling with settings to work out what works well for the stream. So not to say we'll do it forever. So I was going to track there on 296. What I'm going to do is set this to 296 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. And from the VOR tracking video, as you guys know, we need to put the nose further right of the head of the needle to push it left over to 296. So that's what I'm going to do. There's 5,000 feet. We're going to sail through it. No trouble. Now it's going to be very insensitive. We're 90 miles away, so it's going to take ages to get that needle to move around. So we'll need quite a big intercept. I'm just going to put the floodlight on, or the white light on, just to make it a bit better for you guys to see. Ed's been making a lot of home pizza recently. Can't beat it. Very nice. I assume do you have a pizza oven, or do you cook it in a normal oven? Leonard J says there's this clip button now on the stream where I guess we can record clips. Yeah, there is. So if you've, I really don't know how that works or where those clips go. So it was a big deal just to use the subscribers only chat for this stream. But again, please don't confuse it with members only chat. We don't have any members. You don't have to pay to chat in this stream if you want to join in. But thank you all for coming along. Do please hit the like button if you enjoyed the departure, takeoff, and or beer and pizza chat. It makes a big difference to the channel. Massive difference if you guys like the video. So yeah, we really appreciate it. Check the VOR. You may have flicked to 299. Oh, we'll do. Yeah, we did. Thank you very much. You guys are always on it. So now I'm cutting in. Still 160 knots. and I'm making my intercept over here. Joel, good to see you. We have not enabled the autopilot. No, funnily enough, I can prove it. Look, I'm still flying. This airplane, very stable. Just a bit of trimming to get to 160 knots. And again, the PMDG tutorials talk a lot about not fiddling with power settings too much. These engines like to be set to a power, and then you fly the airplane around it seems. So very different to the Airbus. So it's okay in smooth air like this to do that. It's not too difficult. So you can just set the trim, and once the trim's set the right speed, the power doesn't change. It's all quite straightforward. As we go up, of course, that power might reduce, but I'm assuming the automatic engineer will keep adjusting it. J-Bay says, don't need a pizza oven if you've got the Weber kettle and a pizza stone, or even fall on the griddle. we're going to have an actual tutorial soon on the channel about cooking a pizza. Very good. Chickpoint says, an airplane? These are just some engines with a flying hole in between. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Thanks for the subscriptions to Dusmart Gaming. Dusmart Martin Games, I think. And Jonathan Gunther, thank you so much for your $20 donation. Really, really kind. Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan says, let's support our DC-6 Manta favourite pilot. With luck, Polaris Control will come around to support you as well. What's Polaris Control? But thank you so much for the $20 donation, Jonathan. You've supported us so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming along to the stream, and thanks for supporting the channel. And yeah, that's very, very generous as ever. Really, really kind. So thank you, Jonathan. I hope you're doing very well. Dana J says, you probably answered this before, but for work, do you usually fly 320 NEO or other variants? Haha. It's a mix. And I think I can safely say that. I think most airlines have a mix. I don't know many that only have NEOs. So yeah, it's a mix. Is that our departure? I think it could be. Something I had noticed. Oh, there's some traffic following. Excellent. Yeah, that's where we departed from. Oh, there we go. We basically ended up on the route from Microsoft Flight Simulator. But that's cheating. We don't want that. Right, it's time to use the autopilot. Obviously, this is far too much flying. So we turn it on. Then we engage the clutch. So now the gyro pilot, is engaged. It's in gyro pilot mode. And it's just going to sort of hold it where it is. And I'm going to engage localizer mode. And it should head over and intercept that radial for the next 80 miles. We're going to keep climbing to 12,000 feet, flight level 120. At some point, I'm going to need to pressurize. So, yeah. Kevin's climbing at the same rate as the airplane. Current altitude, manual control. Now, I've totally forgotten how we engage this. You guys knew. What am I supposed to do to make it pressurize? I think you just... No, we start on the ground. You just had to turn this, didn't you? So I'm just going to set this to... I don't know what. I'm assuming flight level 120. And now it's already pressurizing. Seems dead easy. Let's do that to 120. And there you go. Look, it's descending. So, seems to be pressurizing, which is good news for our passengers. They'll be very happy about that. But yeah, thank you again to Jonathan. And thank you to Sharp. Sharp, very kind. Sharp, for your $6.81 donation. Really appreciate it, Sharp. Sharp says, happy flying. Thanks so much. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for donating towards the channel, Sharp. Very kind of you. And yeah, really appreciate it. So thank you again to Jonathan and to Sharp for contributing towards the channel. Polaris Control is the ATC at Norway, says Jonathan. Ah, thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, okay, yeah. So maybe they'll come online. I must admit, I'm not too upset they aren't online as I try to figure out my way out of there. So you see this, that we're bang on the needle, but we're still sort of 10 degrees off and it's just not moving. It's just so numb this far out. Really, we could use the VOR behind us at this point. It would probably make more sense, but anyway. So the airplane seems to have really picked up 160 knots. Obviously our true airspeed's higher, but... Oh, there's the lightning. We're about to sail through 10,000 feet. This is the worst altimeter. Unbelievable. So hard to read. I mean, the rate of climb here is really good, 1,000 feet per minute. I mean, this airplane can go up to, I think it's about 19,000 quite comfortably. So I'm a little surprised it's doing so well here. Maybe that's a pressurization issue more than an actual performance issue with all those engines. Because, yeah, this is going to be quite an abrupt level off. I mean, this is all in context, of course. The 320 would be doing sort of 3,000 feet per minute plus at 300 knots here. So it's interesting that the Dash 8 had, or the Q400 has about the same horsepower available to it, I believe, as this monster did. So this is relatively underpowered compared to modern airliners. And that's obviously with 2 engines. Right, we're getting close to level off, so I'm going to trim that wheel down. I want to level it off myself before I use the out hold feature. So I trim that wheel forwards, and it sort of plumps the nose down. Gentle climb, that's good. Do a little bit more. No, don't go up, don't go up. No, don't descend. And once it's sort of level, we can engage in altitude hold mode. So it's a very good autopilot. It's called a gyro. I mean, it's called a gyro pilot, but I don't really know why. I think that'll do. And then we just do this little toggle here, and there it goes. It's going to keep us at 120. And now I'm going to say to my engineer, please, let's do the cruise.
Set cruise power, please.
And they're going to fill up the cruise power. Kyoto says that's a old school altimeter. Anyone with over 25 years flying have used those many times. Yeah, so I've used. Oh, there it is. Right. So the altimeters I've used look like this, and I did learn on gauges like this, not the glass cockpit. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but I'm just I you know, I've used this altimeter quite regularly when I was learning anyway. But the ones I used didn't have a third needle to show you the tens. They had, so this big one is thousands, the little one's 10,000. So that is 1 times 10,000. So yeah, it's just funny to see it like this, because the one I had a big, and you guys will recognize them, they have a big sort of black and white dashed area to show you when you're below 10,000 feet, and then disappears when you're above it. But the best ones are the ones like in the 757 that actually also display it as a sort of number numerically. So cruise power's set, we're accelerating, which is all looking nice. The pitch is on the horizon, and here we go. This is what Norway is so stunning for. These beautiful, beautiful views the whole way now. Absolutely love it. Obviously, it'd be interesting to try this again in winter and see all the snow. Fries on pizza is coming up. Yeah, potato pizza is very common, isn't it? As Matteo says. It's very nice, actually. I haven't seen actual sort of French fries on pizza, though, I must admit. Norway Control was renamed to Polaris. There we go. It's a cool name. I can see why. I'd like it. Mikael, good to see you. Mikael says, damn, I'm going to have to fly my DC-6 tonight now. What do you use to plan VOR routes? I actually... Skyvector I use, but you can in Microsoft Flight Simulator in the flight planning sort of the world map. Doesn't look like we're staying level, does it? But we are, okay. In the world map, you can actually, using the filters, make it show VORs, or you can click plan route VOR to VOR. So that's quite a handy way to do it, really. Yeah. Savage Haters, post the question again. Sorry, I missed it. The Morgan Thomas Show says it's 34 years old. Too old to stop my marketing career and become a pilot. I can dream, right? It's certainly not too old. Certainly not. I've seen people older convert to be pilots. But you've got to be very careful if it's a good idea. But in terms of the age, it's not too old. It depends. Caveat to that is where you are in the world. I know some countries have stricter limits on age. Lauren V says, apparently Flight Deck to Sim community thinks pineapple on pizza is okay. There are more Italians here, so that won't fly here. No, we won't get away with that in this channel. No way. Ed has makes them in the oven. Plans on making a pizza oven there. Very nice, very nice. Thanks for your subscription to 3D Artist 64. Really appreciate it. If you are enjoying the video, do please hit the like button. It makes a big difference. So there we go. Up in the cruise, we have some Toliss flying along, which I didn't know would show up on this little map. I must admit. I've never noticed. Never used this map, I suppose. So this is live weather. They're going to overtake us unless you could bring a 320 nice and low and slow, and it would follow along at these speeds. No problem at all. Might be a little bit inefficient though. This is why I love flying over Norway. It's just spectacular. Yeah. Right, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. So we've done our cruise. Next will be the descent on there. 50 miles to the VOR, and then we're going to head up to Foxtrot Lima Sierra, the Bergen VOR, effectively. So this is going to be the Stavanger, so we're going to ride overhead Stavanger Airport. You can see it on this map. And then we're going to go to Flesland up there. So Stavanger is somewhere over here. Somewhere I'm debating doing a group flight, actually, around here. There it is, Stavanger Airport. You can see all the nav aids and waypoints that line up with the runways. So we're actually going to go over to Stavanger and then up. And up to Alesund. Now, last time the approach was a bit of a mess. We were very fast, very high, and the speeds were all wrong on final approach. So I've watched the PMDG tutorial, and we're going to try something different. We're going to set the power appropriately on sort of downwind, and then we are going to just leave it there, configure the airplane, and come down the glide slope like that. Instead of all the we were just too fast. We gave ourselves no chance last time. Just out of interest, if we look at the engine stress, yeah, all looking good. And we can check that by looking down here. And we got cylinder head temperatures all in the green. And what I'm going to have to do, just give me 1 second, guys. I'll be back in just a sec. Sorry about that. Yeah, the inevitable happened. The thunderstorm did arrive and poured it down with rain on my house, and all my windows were open. So yeah, just had to go and sort that out. Savage Ages says CRJ or DC-6, guys, vote. It's up to you, Savage Ages. It's a preference thing, no doubt. They're both great. I would, if you want either, I have no trouble recommending them. Yeah. I assume we can't open this anymore because we're pressurized. How's the pressurization going? Cabin is at, what's that, 2,000 feet? And descending? No, it's not. It's up here. Sorry. Cabin is at 6,400 feet and descending. Supercharger airflow rate. I assume superchargers are somehow related to being able to pressurize. We can actually switch them to high. Has anyone tried this? Do we know what it does? We'll have to try that. We're going to try a few switches today on today's flight. We got airports beneath us along the way. Anthony says, please give some of your rain here. Yeah, it stopped already. So I was way too late. Already everything was soaked upstairs. But it's that classic thing, isn't it, with the thunderstorms in the summer, where you have to just close all the windows, so it's just even hotter. Ed says, thanks for the video on the Phoenix A320 Sim Alpha. Really enjoyed your thoughts on it so far. Let's hope a release is not far away. Exciting time for us A320 fans. Yeah. So the Phoenix A320, obviously the big news story for a lot of channels, but obviously being an Airbus channel, it's very relevant. Yeah, it looks incredible. And any of you who sat through my 46-minute video on it, my intention was I wanted to make a video for you guys a lot of information got shared quite quickly by the team when they announced it, which is great, and they've been really transparent and really clear with their communication, which has been really nice. What happened was Amir did a stream with Chewy, and then there was the Discord where people were asking questions and they were answering them, and there were the press releases, 2 press releases. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll make a nice condensed video which will give you guys all the information that we know so far, and then hopefully that will answer some questions for you. So I did my best. I wrote it all out as best I could and picked up. I watched all the streams, read all the press releases and so on until I had it all. And then I talked, and as ever, that's my that's my problem. And yeah, it ran to 46 minutes. So I don't know if it's any better than, probably slower than looking it up yourself. My pops Amir says checkpoint. Yeah, our pressurization today would have certainly done that. Rob says, don't hit those supercharger switches now. You'll overboost the engines. Those are for flying at high altitudes, and you need to reduce the manifold pressure first. Rich Sanger says, no. Matthew Presley says, no. Supercharger boost the engine. Used to get the manifold pressure back up at high altitudes. Turn them on before drastically reducing your manifold pressure will cause some fun. There we go. I'm glad you guys are here. So, how high do we need to go before we can use those? Santiago says, do you think it'll be more complete than the Toliss? Well, it's hard to say. They have no release date in sight, and they've only shown us a very small amount of features. Certainly, the MCDU seems to not be lacking in anything. They've got, it's got all the radial fixes, all of this good stuff that we like. So it's got, more features than I see on the aircraft I fly. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be. I don't want to compare it directly with the Toliss, but I'd say it looks so far to be easily as at the same level. That's the sort of level it is, being a payware add-on. You'd expect it to be, right? So it's not freeware like the A320NEO. So yeah, about 15,000 says Matthew. Thanks, Matthew. Good to see you again. I hope you're doing well in the States, Matthew. Our resident. I always say resident, but yeah, resident CRJ pilot. 16 or higher says Herb. Excellent. Danny says you engage them when you run out of throw on throttle. There we go. That's probably a good measure, isn't it? Ed says, no issues with the length. I'd have listened to it if it's 2 hours long. Really interesting stuff. Thanks, Ed. I'm glad you like it. I'm going to make a post soon to send you guys to the podcast I did. But I believe my appearance in that podcast is only about 20 minutes. So, yeah, it's not very long form. It's not my podcast. I was a guest on somebody else's. Jonathan says, one thing very cool with Norway when you're doing VFR are the huge amount of lakes and rivers that can be used as visual references. Yeah, so, I mean, have you done much VFR? Because if that works for you, then great. I haven't done any VFR in Norway. So I suppose, yeah, they're all different shapes. My initial reaction or hesitation would be there's just so many. I wouldn't have any idea. If I saw this river or that lake or that lake, how would I know I'm looking at the right one? I find that quite tricky, but I imagine if you know the area especially, then that wouldn't be a problem. The bad thing with Norway is it's very rugged terrain beneath you. So if you look at all these are cliff faces, lakes, cliff faces, rocks, snow caps and so on. So where are you going to put the airplane? If you really needed to. You can't really. Ditching one of these would be an incredible challenge. I know that sounds daft, but there's not many airports and there's not much flat ground. But I suppose you could say flying over most European countries, you don't really have that, aside from the airports. But yeah, there's not many airports, put it that way. Anthony says, is the PMDG DC-6 worth purchasing? If you think you can be interested enough to spend some time with it, it has a GPS, but it's just the default, or as far as I can tell, it's the default GPS. Everything works, all the switches work, so it's a high quality version of a DC-6. My only complaint, and I talked about it in my opening video, first video I did with it, is there's just some of these textures. I mean, they look alright. In fact, have they changed the textures? Because I remember complaining, but some of these are specifically about the overhead panel, but with the light on, it actually looks quite nice now. I feel like there was something that looked very 2D that was clearly a photo of something 3D, and I wasn't too pleased to see it. It sort of, every time I looked up there, it distracted me. But maybe they've sorted it out, because there's been a lot of updates. I've never seen a product updated so regularly. This has had, I don't know how many, but I keep having to update it every time I turn on the simulator. I actually lost a bit of altitude here. Not sure why. So I'm going to disengage altitude mode, trim the nose up a little bit. JB says, did they change the textures? Yeah, I think they did. They removed them, Herb says. Yeah, there we go. So, well, that was my main complaint, and they got rid of it. So there you go. So it's a quality product. I've no qualms about recommending it if you like the idea of the DC-6 like I do. And I wasn't sent it. I paid for this one. That event, yeah, I agree, Checkpoint. Yeah, I think this. I don't think there's a 3D thing here now. You can still see some areas, but hopefully as they work through it, they'll fix some of those. My only other complaint, I mean, the texturing is a common theme in this one. If you sit here and fly it, it looks fantastic. They've nailed the bits they needed to, specifically up here, all around this area, and these panels. But weirdly, when you sit here, and you sort of, if you look down for too long, you start to go, well, that looks very. I mean, maybe the real airplane is, but that grey, that grey, that grey are all perfectly the same colour. I mean, it almost looks like a 3D model in a like Blender or some other computer program rather than the actual thing. Oh, we're still climbing. Re-engage altitude hold. There we go. So yeah, so sometimes I think the texturing could be improved, but the functionality is top notch. The performance is great, and although notably in VR, this is one of my harder ones to run in VR, and I don't understand why. I haven't worked it out. I must need to fiddle with my settings. But the standout feature of this for me, there's two. It's the engines. They're glorious. They put all the right management in. The instruments are all 3D, and they look great. You've got the cowl flaps you can adjust. Everything works. You've got to do the hard part, looking after the engines. And the second thing is the quality of life features, I call them. I don't know what they'd be called. UI, I suppose. Which is the artificial flight engineer. Amazing, great feature. You can set the power for you. Can just take that strain off you. Can set the airplane up. I'm getting more confident. I reckon I could turn it on. Not sure I could start the engines though, but I can't start the engines with this thing. I need you guys. Yeah, so this is great, and the ability to change how difficult the engines are. Look at this. You can do realistic damage and so on. So I've got that turned on. I haven't done the CB failure because I don't know what that would involve, but yeah. Could turn off the GPS at some point as well, actually. Yeah, it's nice. It's really nice. I would say... No, can't say anything else about that. I found recently the wipers work. Oh no. Maybe we're too fast. They work on the ground. Maybe we're just a bit too fast for them right now. The flight engineer is so well done in this, that's what says JB. Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's amazing. Ah, there we go. Ed says, I think they made some performance updates recently, so maybe they had the budget for more detailed textures. You can almost forgive their dodgy textures for all the great animations. Yeah, exactly. I definitely can forgive the dodgy textures. It's just they stand out because everything else is so nice. MK says, how do you move the camera in the cockpit like you are? I have them assigned to translate cockpit view, which is the arrow keys. I think that's by default. Matthew Presley says, I love the DC-6, been flying it for years in other sims. Once you wrap your head around it, it's the most rewarding plane in flight simulation, plus lower altitude flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator is stunning. Yeah, all great reasons to use it. Yeah. Russell says, evening skipper, sorry I'm late, trying to catch up with the streams. Like you, I'm back at work now, so struggle to catch the streams live. Love the content as always. Thanks, Russell. Glad you like it. Glad you're back at work. Good to hear it. Yeah, no problem at all. I haven't streamed much at all. This is it's been about 18 days, I think. One of our longest. MK says, is it possible to say how far ahead it is of the fly-by-wire? It seems to be much more complete on the MCDU, but what about other systems? So this is the Phoenix A320 MK is talking about. and that is compared to the fly-by-wire A320X. Hard to say. I mean, I wouldn't know how to score it. I mean, it's clearly it's going to be a fully ready product when it comes to market. So it's going to have the LNAV, the VNAV, the holds, all of that stuff's in there. So it just depends how much you find yourself missing in the A320X, because the A320X team are working amazingly hard. It's amazing, and I absolutely love what they've done, and it's a great thing, and it's getting better and better all the time. And don't get me wrong, before anyone asks, no one's asked, but I'll say it anyway, there's definitely space for both of them. Not even slightly concerned about that. The A320X is going to be a lot of people's first Airbus. In fact, it's going to be massive. So yeah, no doubt about it. Is the A320X going to be on Xbox? That's something I was wondering earlier, and I can't remember. Agent says, are you going to do the VOR or visuals? I'm going to try the VOR. Yeah, that's the plan. Checkpoint says, just got confirmed. First flight is planned for September the 6th. Excellent. Where are you going, Checkpoint? Cobra says, how do you update the DC-6 in the sim? Is it automatic? No, I use PMDG's Operations Center, they called it. And I did have to reinstall it recently. It went wrong. But yeah, PMDG's Operations Center. It pops up every time I start my computer now. J-Bay says, definitely room for both. Free high-quality aircraft will always be popular. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Oh yeah, we're going off course. Great spot. We've sailed over the VOR. It was going to happen. 11555. We don't need to swap VORs yet though. What I'm going to do, so I'm going to put it back to gyro. Now often I do this and it disconnects, so any moment that whole thing could disconnect. If I press too many buttons, it all goes wrong, and you guys will probably see the mistake I'm making. Anyway, you just turn that to the right. The airplane starts its right turn. I'm going to adjust the course to the next one, which I wanted, which was 350. Won't be too difficult to get over to 350. So we're going to track outbound at 350. To do that, I'm going to need to be further right, probably north. So I'm going to go to about 020 at first. And somewhere behind us will be Stavanger. There it is, I believe. Yep. We sailed over it. No problem, we got extra fuel. That's why we took double the fuel. Beautiful day. I tried this yesterday and it was hideous weather. This is confusing, the way this doesn't turn, so yeah. Gotta keep looking down here to actually find out which way I'm pointing. So now, it won't level out on a heading or anything. You've got to just turn this until the wings are level again. That's actually the hardest bit for me. Because you can look down here to see what it's commanding, but if the ailerons aren't, you know, it's a bank angle thing. It's done on the gyroscope, so yeah. There we go, something like that. Right, so 350 is here. I'm pulling the tail now, and you'll see that that's gradually making its way over to 350. Or whatever else. What did I say? Yeah, 350. Yeah, good. Matthew Presley says, only downside of the flying coming back as strong as it has is that almost all of our aircraft are flying MEL sticker books right now. Like Oprah giving out deferrals. Matthew Presley says, it takes a good 5 to 10 minutes to go through the MEL list each flight. So what Matthew's talking about there is aircraft have a list of things, for those of you who don't know, that you're allowed to fly without. So there's a lot of redundancy in aircraft. And when they're made, the manufacturer will create a list of things that you don't need. And it will be, you know, it's amazing. The list is massive. It covers everything. It will cover armrests and for the pilots, and you know, it even goes down sometimes to nuts and bolts sort of level, although that's more of an engineering feature. But yeah, so one of the radios or one of the buttons to push to talk to the air traffic control, that sort of thing. Anyway, if you have enough of these, you get you know, or yellow stickers are put on them, or red stickers, or whatever sticker your airline chooses to use, often yellow. And then you fly without it. But what you've got to do is you've got to check in the MEL before you go flying. You can't just go, oh, it's not there, fine, we'll make do. You have to actually go into the MEL, look up the actual number, the deferral number, then you go and compare that to the tech log and make sure it's all correct. And then you need to work out, right, with this defect, do the engineers need to have done anything, and have they done it? And then you go, yep, they've done it, great. Then with this defect, do I need to do anything? So then there's an operational procedure where you need to work out what you need to do differently. So it might be, you know, with some of the hydraulic things in the Airbus, you could actually have to run the flight controls on stand before you start engines, all sorts of that. Yeah. So lots of stuff. Herb says, the A320 was my first experience in a sim with an airliner. Through your videos and streams, I've learned so much about the plane. Thank you for teaching me to fly my first airliner. You're very welcome, Herb. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thanks for saying so. AC445 says, yep, my CRJ 700 has sailed right ahead of all the DC-6s, almost at top of descent. Yeah, I'm not surprised. AT says, hi, great stream as always. Does your company started flights more regular now? I think there are more flights, but I'm not seeing them just yet. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Ed says, is that the maintenance engineering log? No, MEL is minimum equipment list. As Tom Corwine says. There you go. Cobus says, you are a star. Thank you very much, Cobus. Shrig says, MEL codes were the bane of my existence as a fueler. Plenty of times having to go up to the cockpit because a light in the cabin was out or something. Ah, there you go. Very interesting, yeah. Yeah, as every light, you'll be able to find it. Certain number of lights, certain number of speakers will need to be working, certain number of bulbs. Oh, it's endless. It's a huge, huge, huge document, the minimum equipment list. Absolutely massive. And it's very good because it would tell you exactly what's allowed and not allowed, how long it's allowed for, and what the other conditions are. So if you've got this failure, it will say something like must not be combined with, and it will tell you the other failures that can't also be running at the same time. Thank you, Like, for your subscription. Hope you enjoy the video. So yeah, Domingo Da Vinci, good to see you. Domingo Da Vinci says, good to see your stream again. It's been a while again, but I hope you're doing well, my friend. Thank you so much, Domingo. Yeah, all good. It has been a while indeed, but great to see you here. It's been a while, and I miss the streams after a while. You know, we've done quite a lot of videos, and the videos are good, fun, because they're things that I can't do on stream. But yeah, a little bit more lonely sort of work when you just sat there at your desk for a few hours. There we go. Where's that? That looks like Haugesund. Can someone look that up? I'll do it. I'll stop being lazy. ENHD. Haugesund, look at that. Excellent. Oh, I'm pleased with myself there. You saw me. I said it before I looked it up. Yeah, but there you go. We have an option there, and there's a colleague sailing past. So do we have, is that a DC-6 flying along with us? So that's the progress we made. That's the progress to go. So yeah, making progress. Wind turbines. Yeah, Microsoft Flight Simulator being outrageously good at the scenery as usual. Now I feel like we can go faster. We're doing 205, 30, 40. Well, maybe not. Maybe this is about normal. Maximum looks to be about 260. I don't really know what to do. I'm just using the cruise power, 150 BMEP. I think we'll just stick it here. It is, you know, if I was to just fire all the engines now, they really would fail. I've done it many times practicing. Haugesund, Carmoy, says Adrian. There you go. Daniel Petterson, good to see you. Daniel says, hi Captain, I'm curious about the difference between transition altitude and transition level. Is there an easy way to explain this? I'll try. So, when you're on the ground and you're climbing, you're obviously set to QNH on your altimeter. In this case, 2993, I think it was. As you climb up, you'll reach eventually the transition altitude, which is the altitude at which, being on 2993, is the last altitude you can use it. Above that altitude, you've got to use standard 2992. To you and me in Europe, that's going to be obviously QNH 1013 is standard, so this would have been like QNH 1014 on the ground. So you climb up, and that is your transition altitude. It's the last altitude in the climb. Think of it just in the terms of one's for the climb, one's for the descent. Altitude for the climb, level for the descent. So yeah, you climb up to your transition altitude. If you're cleared above that, so air traffic will say, let's say the transition altitude today was 6,000 feet. So then 6,000 feet will be the last altitude we'll climb to. If air traffic wanted us to go any higher, they would say climb flight level 7080 and onwards. So the altitude is the last one. In the descent, obviously, you're not using altitude. You're on standard. You're at flight level, so you're using 1013. So therefore, you need a transition level. So as you're descending, it's the last flight level you use before you have to convert back to the QNH. The transition altitude will always be the same because the QNH is referenced to the ground. So when you're at 6,000 feet on the QNH, you're 6,000 feet above the ground, so it's safe. The level, on the other hand, will change because if you've got a really low QNH, let's say it's like 990 or something silly, really low. Yeah, it's not even that silly. But let's say you've got a low QNH. So you're descending on, I can actually show you here. You're descending, or you're, at your flight level. So we're at flight level 120 roughly. And then you want to change over to an altitude. So I'm cleared to descend now to altitude 11,000 feet. Great. On QNH, whatever it is, super low. So as I wind my QNH down, down, and down, and down, and down, and down, and it can easily be this much, it does happen, and down, and down, and down, really low pressure day. You could be in a situation, now this is a little bit extreme, but we're already below the altitude that we were going to descend to. So if it's a low pressure day, they'll actually raise the transition level. So instead of it being, let's say it's normally flight level 70 to go down to 6,000 feet transition altitude, if it's a really low pressure day, they'll actually raise it to make it like 75 or 80. And that way, when you convert over, you're not already significantly lower. Also useful for terrain separation. So if you are heading somewhere with mountains beneath you, that's another place where they'll do that very often, where they will say, okay, you need to convert earlier, and if there's low pressure, they'll make you convert even earlier because you're actually lower to the terrain than you realise. I hope that makes sense. Travis, good to see you. Travis says, love catching the live videos. Looking forward to Microsoft Flight Simulator coming to Xbox next week. Yeah, very exciting. Very exciting. I'm looking to see. Well, I can't. I was thinking of getting an Xbox. I thought, should I get an Xbox? To sort of help understand it, so that I can make some videos to help people who are only flying on Xbox, like maybe controller setups and so on. But I haven't seen any available to buy. They're so hard to get. Matthew Presley says, good chunk of them are nets for the cabin because apparently passengers love to destroy random things, non-essential furnishings, says Matthew. Yeah, that's about the MEL. Russell says, since I've been back at work in engineering, we are seeing loads of failure systems and anomalies of aircraft are taken out of mothballs. Yeah, something to be careful of, isn't it? Yeah. Matthew Stagg says, your videos have been a lifesaver. The Airbus has grown on me a lot, mainly thanks to your channel. Thanks so much and best of luck. Thanks so much, Matthew. Sorry I missed your message earlier, but thank you. Really appreciate it. Press silver buttons to level wings. Ah, that's what I should have done. Yep. Okay. Thanks, guys. Sorry, I missed a whole load in the chat. Ed says, what dictates the transition altitude? That'll be regulations. So in America, it's nearly always 18,000 feet. In the UK, it does vary a little bit, airport to airport, and terrain. So if you're in say you're in Europe, but you're in somewhere with mountains around you, there'll be no good I don't know, somewhere in the Alps or near the Alps, where the MSAs could be sort of like Milan or something, and you've got MSAs upwards of 9,000 feet, or Madrid, another one, where the transition level might, or transition altitude might be up at 10,000, 11,000 feet because the mountains go up there. It's no good having pilots flying around on standard when they're close to terrain. Very good. Yeah, you guys are absolutely right. Been totally chatting away. I wonder if I put it to localizer, will it work its way over there? I think it will. And what I can do now is hopefully swap over. That's going to confuse it. We're nearly there anyway. 28 miles. We're making good progress here. Santiago says, yeah, plenty of mountains over here. Exactly, yeah. So it'll be higher in places with terrain usually. Kyle, good to see you. Kyle says, wow, really glad to catch a stream. I'm on a split day for the movie I'm working on. 4 AM cool, work 6 hours, then 6 hour break, then back to work for another 6 hours. Thanks for streaming. You're welcome, Kyle. I hope it's good fun working on a film. Sounds exciting. Right, there's not really... It's not very convincing, is it? So that should be 11555, course 350. We're on 3334. Sort of on it, but it's not displaying properly there. I wonder why. So let's take over. Let's go back to gyro pilots. I'm going to turn it to the left. Seems like VOR2 is tuned to something it's picking up. Anyway, I'm not sure why. And then we can press that to level the wings. And hopefully we'll go and intercept this course bar. There we go. That looks better. 2 Point says, if they port it really well, I expect all you need is an Xbox controller. That's true enough. Yeah, good point. No worries, Daniel. Agent says, transition flight level is 080 now, and transition altitude is 7,000 feet in the north. There you go. Makes sense. Matthew says, always 18,000 feet to North America. Only thing that changes is depending on the pressure, flight level 180 and in really extreme, flight level 190 do not exist. Yeah, that's it. So obviously, in between those two things, you might lose a flight level or an altitude. Sorry, not yeah, flight level. Yeah, because you'll change the pressure so much. Carpenter says, when I did my JAR PPL, transition altitude was always 3,000 UK, so commercial is different then, as I was under the impression that it was made so everyone is singing from the same song sheet. Yeah, it's not, maybe it was 3,000, but it's these days it's often around 6 in the UK. Right, let's try going to the localizer again. There we go. Sun setting. Is it setting? No, good. I don't want it to be setting as we get there. Carpus says, copy that, not flown for 4 years now, thanks. No worries, Carpus. Yeah, I can't think of anywhere. There could be somewhere where it's as low as 3,000. It depends where you learn to fly, really, because in the UK it does change around. It's not a sort of standard thing. There's another airport. That looks like Bergen to me. So that is Flesland, which is the VOR we're heading to right now. After this, we're going to head basically up to the Alesund VOR. It's going to be 1158, course 008. So I'm just going to tune that in the background. You guys will keep on top of me to make sure I don't forget that. So once we're past Bergen, I'm going to do a bit of chat about the approach, so we're all ready to do that, and then we can get talking to the rest of it. Beautiful, beautiful place to fly to, Bergen. Really nice. I mean, they all are, but Bergen is especially lovely. Says, nice livery, maybe they should paint one up like that for real. Yeah, it is. It's lovely, isn't it? Paddy's excellent work, this one. There's a bit of turbulence up here, no doubt. Alexander Galfano says, Los Angeles is dying for you to fly there. Yeah, I will. We need to go back to America. I didn't want to do an American flight in the DC-6 in the sense of air traffic control. I was worried about I'm going to be such a nuisance when I go, so I'm going to try it in the Airbus, no doubt, first. Ed Hassan, thank you so much for the $3.99 donation. Really appreciate it, Ed. Ed says, great to have another live stream in the DC-6. Glad you like it, Ed. Thanks for coming along, and thank you very much for donating. Oh, there's something there. Yeah, thanks so much for donating towards the channel and for contributing as always. Glad to have you here. I'm glad you like the DC-6. I wasn't sure. I know it's been a while, but the last stream was in the Airbus, so I thought, oh, well, I can get away with the DC-6 stream. Surely you guys will let me do that. Adrian, call sign is Manta285. Tom Corwin says, flight level 180 is where our class A begins in the US, so you'll always be talking to AGC. There you go. Herb says, the last time I did a flight in the DC-6, I nearly crashed into 4 different mountains outside of Anchorage, Alaska. Yeah, you got to be... well, on my last approach in the DC-6, we ran into problems on approach just from being too high, too much to do, and the airplane takes time to slow down. Because you can't idle those engines, take them straight back to nothing, because they'll just cool down too much. You've got to be ahead of it. Yeah. Much more so than a jet, really. There's no speed brakes either. Checkpoint says, will we see the A300 back on stream? I missed the working toilet for a while now. Is it working? I didn't know that. Yeah, I could do another A300. I haven't updated it for a while. I'm more partial to the Beluga, as you guys know, which I think has a toilet. So would that one be working as well? I do like the... yeah, the Beluga I'm a big fan of. The A300 is... It's very good, but it's I've not used it as much, I must admit. JB says, hopefully we'll have the PMDG 737 soon too, to add another cool plane, and then the 777. Yeah. I'm hoping to hear more news out of PMDG, because this was a great success as far as I can tell. Obviously slightly simpler in many respects, and certainly the software it built into the aircraft is basically non-existent, so I know they've done a lot of work on their own software, but hopefully they can get as an airliner soon. Lauren V says, flight latest sim streaming the A310 confirmed the toilets do not work. There we go. Lauren's all over all the streams. Excellent. Checkpoint says, Beluga has a working toilet as well. Ah, well, the door at least. We still need to try the Thunderbird's livery. Yes, Thunderbird's livery indeed. Good point, yeah. York says, I'll fly along if you fly in the US. Copy, York, yeah. I'll have to do some US stuff soon. There we go, no spoilers for the Formula 1. You're doing well, Kyle, if you've made it this far. I must admit. Daniel says, can't wait for the Phoenix A320. It looks so good, yeah. No, it does look amazing. The screenshots they've shared, the videos they've shared, the group of people working on it as well seem very... I mean, they've got four real pilots in the testing team? Jonathan went to dinner, no problem at all. I hope it wasn't pizza. People are looking forward. Ed's looking forward to the 737. Yeah. The PMDG 73 will be a classic, obviously. Right, here we go then. We've gone over the VOR. We're late again, but it's course 008. Now, what would it do if I do that? Not a lot. We should be outside the cone of confusion by now, which is where you lose signal. Nope, we're on the wrong course. It's not doing it. So I'm assuming it needs me to actually set up like an intercept. So I'm going to do that now. Let's go right. We're going 008. So we'll go for something like 020. Checkpoint says, I've seen quite some spoilers on Formula 1, mostly on the front and rear end of the cars. Yeah. Yep. Very good. Very good. That's that's going to be a classic joke. Jonathan says, it was like eating some cheese like a true Swiss. Very nice. Yeah. That's a very Swiss dinner. Some cheese. Excellent. Right, here we go then. That tail should now come around towards our 008. Let's do a bit of fuel checking. Also, the tanks are empty. Main tanks, no problem at all. Look at that. Loads of fuel. 3,000, 6,000, 12,000, 13,000 pounds of fuel. Started with about 16, needed 8. So we could start the whole flight from now and have more than enough fuel. Lots of other needles that all work, all very nice. We did try them out last stream. You can de-ice the carburetor. I think this is a fluid one. We can... Oh, there you go, cabin temperature. There it is. Oh no, fuel pressure. You can heat up the wings to incredibly high temperatures. I was very impressed. But yeah, we will leave this all off. What's this one? Pitot and scoop heater ammeter selection. Ah, here we go. So we can check that they're drawing current. And then we'll know that hopefully they are actually working and not faulted. Very important. If you found yourself in ice in this sort of aeroplane. Now this is a real aeroplane to get stuck in the ice. Now it's clearly well equipped. It's designed to fly through IFR weather. But when you're in a slower, straight, thick-winged aircraft like this, you'll pick up a lot more ice. The Airbus and 737 and modern jetliners, they really don't pick up that much ice compared to things like this. In fact, before I get too distracted, we're just on our radial now, so back to localizer. Yeah, so these style of airplanes, slower ones and propeller ones, and turboprops these days as well, they do pick up ice, and it can get quite serious. Like you can have ice starting to cover the windows. Not for long, but I've seen that before. You'd have it on the propellers. If it breaks off the propeller, it's going to make a big noise in the fuselage. And here, of course, we've got carburetors, so even more problems compared to you know, when I was in a propeller plane flying through ice, they were turboprops, so I wasn't concerned about the engines. The engines are very capable. Whereas this is a pretty serious thing to get stuck in ice. I assume it's certified for it, judging how it was designed to fly and to be, you know, this is one of the most capable piston airplanes ever made. The other thing that you find in the Dash 8 has the icing boots on the leading edge, like this black leading edge, and on the tail, and every single part would inflate in a sort of a cycle to break off the ice, which is just funny because the Airbus, they only bothered to heat the outboard 3 slats. The tail isn't de-iced at all, or anti-iced in flight, I should say. It's a very different thing, yeah. Just because of the speeds they fly and the shape of the wing and everything. Daniel Pedersen, thanks so much for your 109 SEK donation. Really appreciate it, Daniel. Daniel says, great stream as always, thank you. No, thank you, Daniel. Really kind. Thanks for supporting the channel. Really, really appreciate it. I hope you're doing very well. Right. Let me just take a look at the weather in Alesund and see, because it sounds like we're going to have air traffic control. But yeah, thank you, Daniel. Really appreciate it. So we are using live weather. Hopefully that's pretty reasonable. Yep, northerly wind, so expecting the VOR. It's calm enough really to land either way, but 06. Tiny bit of a headwind onto 06. Ed says the Twin Otter has pneumatic icing boots. Yep, I think it does, yeah. Alexander Galfano says, do you think they'll ever introduce proper alternate law to the A320X? I hope they add the bus in case of 123 ADR failure. Yeah, I think they will. I don't see why they wouldn't. They've achieved so many amazing things, especially when they're having to unpick the mess of the default A320 to put it into a more usable one. They're doing amazingly well. Savage Hater says, Sim Pilot, please give tips on trimming aircraft. I always seem to do too much or too little. I get spoiled because of the Airbus. So I have the trim assigned to click buttons, so on my joystick. So I'm just going to take out the gyro pilot. Now I'm not sure whether the order you're supposed to do this. I'm imagining I'm going to do autopilot, altitude, gyro pilot, clutch. Okay. So, oh, it's quite out of trim actually. So you can see that trim wheel down there. Yeah, look, it's... Why is it... I don't understand why... why is it moving? Very strange. That's really weird. Have I left something on? I thought not. Seems to calm down now. Yeah, that's better. That's more what I was expecting. So for trimming, you can just see that wheel just about down there, and I've got it assigned to one button. So one button I press and it clicks back. The other button I press and it clicks forward. So that's just so you know how I have it set up. A bit like an electronic trim switch, but not quite. The trick with trimming is you don't want to trim. You want to get the airplane where you want it and then trim. So now I'm descending at 1,000 feet per minute. So I'm going to pull the nose up until I get 0. Oh, that's too much. It's very sensitive on pitch, definitely. So I'm trying to get it to around 0. And now I can feel, I can see it's actually starting to lower the nose a bit. I'm not sure the autopilot's definitely off. Ah, I see. It's because of my button assignments. Okay. Yeah, so you want to get it where you want it to be. Let me put it out of trim. I'm going to put nose down trim in. Okay. Right, so here we go. So it's descending. We don't want it to descend. So I'm going to raise the nose by pulling back on the stick. And you get the airplane where I'm not trimming. I'm just getting it where I want it. Okay, level flight. There we go. And now I can sit here and I'm feeling that I'm having to hold that yoke back. That's neutral, but I'm sitting here holding it back to keep the airplane flying level. So I'm holding it here, and I'm judging the level, you know, two ways. Obviously, the altimeter and the vertical speed is the sort of quite a nice one to use. So okay, we're nearly there. I need to get descending soon. Yeah, so I'm holding it here, and then I'm going to use trim. So I know I'm pulling back, so I need nose up trim. So I'm going to click the nose up trim, and I'm just clicking that button, and you can see that wheel slowly moving. And as I do that, I can start to release the pressure, and then we're staying more level. So that's the way I do it. Put it where you want it, and then trim it so you're not holding any force on the control. And that's what we do in the real airplane. A little bit easier in a real airplane because you've obviously got the weight of the control in your hands, and a lot more direct feedback. So it is easier in the real airplane, no doubt. Autopilot, please. Thank you. Localizer modes. There we go. Right. It's time to start heading down, I think. We are 38 miles away from... Oh no, I'm doing it the wrong way around. I need to swap over. We're 38 miles away from Bergen. I'm going to swap to Victor India Golf. We're 97 miles. I was going to say, I couldn't believe we were there that quickly. So it has found it. That's good. It's not quite intercepting it. So I'm just going to put it back to gyro pilot. Turn it right a bit. Tom says it's really hard to trim in the simulator. In real life, you feel pressure on the yoke. Yeah, exactly. That is definitely true. Matthew Presley says, I had no idea the bus had that bus system. Try localizer mode now. Makes the airspeed unreliable scenario almost cheating. We are stuck with about 10 different pitch and power tables. Yeah, so the Airbus bus system isn't on all the Airbus aircraft, Matthew. This is the thing with the Phoenix A320. I did mention it a bit in the video. It's a very well-equipped CEO Airbus. There's no doubt about it. So the bus is... Now, I'm not saying there aren't CEO aircraft out there like that. There are. There's CEO aircraft with the bus, absolutely. And all the features they're adding are, I'm sure, available to CEO. But it's just clearly it's a high-spec one, put it that way. So yeah, so the bus is backup speed scale. We haven't seen it on the channel, actually. I might try it out. I wonder if it's in the Toliss. It's a way of flying without the within unreliable speed. But the main thing we do, Matthew, just to reassure you, unreliable speed is actually a massive checklist on the Airbus because of the risk with unreliable airspeed on the Airbus is that because of all those protections, in an aircraft like the CRJ or the Dash 8, if you lose your airspeed indication, you lose your airspeed indication. You might, I suppose, get a stick shaker or something, but you need to fly pitch power. In the Airbus, the problem you've got is if the airplane doesn't realise it's got unreliable airspeed, then it might think you're slow or fast and then try and do something to save you. If it thinks you're fast, it might raise the nose when actually you could be slow. Who knows? So we have a very serious checklist. It's very carefully trained. So it's not all roses in the Airbus for the unreliable airspeed. But if you get to the decision that you can't trust any of your airspeed indication, and you have the bus available, then yes, the bus is very nice. But you don't always. There are occasions where we use pitch power, and we practice that in the sim as well. No worries, Savage. Savage says, I was flying the turbo arrow the other day. It kept going up and down during cruise. I was trying to trim. Yeah, so get it level and then trim it out. Lauren V says, they're still building the last of the CEOs, even with the NEOs out the last 4 to 5 years. Yeah, exactly. CEOs, I didn't know they're still building them, actually. But they're presumably all sharklet. I'm guessing. Stromio, thank you so much for your subscription. I hope you enjoy the stream. No, the Phoenix looks amazing. The amount of features it's got, amazing. The detail on that exterior model is jaw-dropping, actually. They are going for an amazing level of detail. And to have it in Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's going to be such a treat. Jonathan says, we're talking about trimming. Can't wait to receive the Bravo throttle from Honeycomb and get that trim wheel they put on it. That would be no doubt easier to trim than 2 buttons. Yeah, there you go. Trim wheel, very nice. You'll be able to sit there just like this in the big wheel. All you need to do is I assume it's not motorized, so when the autopilot's in, it doesn't run. Yeah, the Bravo quadrant looks good. AC445's already down and parked. Excellent. Well done. Rakon, good to see you. Rakon says, buenas noches. Great route choice. Thanks, Rakon. Glad you're enjoying it. Dan and Jay says, according to Discord, they're looking for a lot of devs to build out all of those systems. This is referring to the A320 and yeah, I saw they were working on it. Yeah, everyone agrees trimming in the sim is more difficult than real life. Matthew Presley says, yeah, my jaw dropped when I saw that screenshot. Essentially a glorified AOA indication from what I can see. Yeah, it gives you GPS, AOA. It's not overly intuitive, but it works. But yeah, it's not bad. Enjoy dinner, Eds. We'll see you in a bit. Plenty of time. AC455 can watch us land, yeah. Right. I said I'm going to be a bit earlier today, and that's what we're going to do. Goodbye to those. Let's go back to... No. Oh my goodness, I've forgotten how to use Navigraph. So we're somewhere up here. Now, tell me, I can't get it to connect to the simulator. Simlink is running, it's connected to your overlay. So if any of you know why, is this because it's in beta? Do I need to update it? So that's Kristiansand, so we'll get rid of that. But I've scrolled along to Alesund. It says runway 24, we know that's not happening. So here's the arrivals, not doing either of these because I'm going straight to the Victor India Golf VOR. I'm hoping air traffic controller lets us do that because that's an RNAV star, that's an RNAV star, so we can't fly these because they're not based on a VOR. So forget that. We have one option for 06, it's the VOR. So we're going to come in. Actually, we're coming in from inbound course of 008 to the Victor India Golf. So that's this VOR here. It's not quite at the airport. So we're going to come in like this. So we can do basically direct entry into the hold. Then turn sort of downwind. Turn back around. And we could enter the hold, but we're not going to do that because entering and flying a raw data hold in the DC-6 was not what I had in mind. What I want to do is head round in and hopefully head straight outbound off the VOR 277 course out to 10.5 miles. At 10.5 miles, I'm going to make a big, gentle left turn round in and intercept 077 degrees inbound to the VOR. The VOR is not at the airport, it's before it. Let me keep that in mind. Then, as we head in, we'll reach 6.4 miles to the VOR, and that, as you can see here, is where we'll descend. We'll be at 3,000 feet for all of this. Although the holding altitude seems to be 4,500, minimum holding altitude 4.5. So if air traffic wants us there, we'll be at 4.5, and then we'll leave and descend straight away from 4.5 down to 3. Now, that's going to be tricky without adjusting the power, because I want to try and keep the power the same, but I've tried this and it's going to be too fast, so I'll have to take over from the engineer and do that myself. Descend down 220 knots maximum, that'll be fine, but I'll bring the power back, get it down, and then get the engineer to do the power again from here. As we come inbound, getting ready to 6.4, I'm going to be level, flap 20, 100 BMEP, and before 6.4 I'm going to go gear down, and then as we reach 6.4 I'm going to take out the autopilot and we're going to put flaps 30 and maybe flaps 40. It's a 3.4 degree descent, so I think we're going to need flaps 40 to full, somewhere around there, and we'll sort of, according to PMDG, we leave 100 BMEP. If we find ourselves low, we bring the flaps in a bit. If we find ourselves high, we put more flap out. Shouldn't need to do much trim changes. Very different to how I'm used to flying, because the flaps on modern airliners are very efficient. They generate lift changes, obviously. The only one is flap 4 to flap 3. The difference in lifts on the Airbus is not a whole lot, but it is a big difference in drag. Whereas in this airplane, the difference from 30 to 40 to 50 degrees of flap seems to mainly just be a drag thing. So it doesn't actually cause much change in the trim, which is really handy. So that's how we can slow ourselves down, or whatever we need to do. 3.4 degree descent, actually slightly steeper than normal, so we're going to be flying around 120 knots, so about 700 feet per minute. Now last time, to work out those speeds, I went up onto this panel, and looked at this, and I said, okay, so we're about 90,000 pounds, so V approach 137. But I'm assuming V approach is not with full flap. V approach is V2 plus 30, so maybe it's in case of a go around. I'm really not entirely sure. Very fast, because the VREF is 108, and in modern airlines we tend to have VREF plus 5 knots. So what I found last stream was we were doing 140 knots, and it was really fast, really nose down, really hard to get the airplane to land. We nearly ran out of runway. So I'm going to use 100 BMEP, and I'm going to put the full flap out and let the airplane settle. And I think it will settle around about VREF 110 knots. And that's what they did in the PMDG video. They didn't fly anywhere near these speeds. These are way too fast. So yeah, so that's the plan. We're going to be a bit slower this time, and we're going to give ourselves lots of room by flying that full procedure. After we land, I can toggle the reversers with this button. Oh, we're getting some real turbulence here. This is Microsoft Flight Simulator, seeing that the terrain beneath us. Just stunning though. Oh, found a glitch. Look at that. Oh, it's such a beautiful part of the world to fly in. Yeah, so we will 100 BMEP on here, and after landing I've got a button that will press that and use the reverse thrust to slow us down. Brings me on to my next point about Alesund. Why do I like Alesund? Well, it's very pretty. You've got high terrain off to the other side. The water and areas on approach, it's like going, you'd think you're in the Caribbean sometimes, the colour of the water in real life. It's so clear, it's absolutely beautiful. Just a very few small houses, but this island basically appears to be uninhabited. It's quite strange to fly over it. Very pretty, and hopefully the sun will be at just the right point in the sky as we get there, and you'll get this just beautiful effect of all the canyons and the fjords around. We'll see. I might have to change the weather because the clouds are looking a little bit... Oh no, they look better where we're going. Unbelievable. It just looks amazing. So yeah, that's the plan. Hold, outbound, get down to 3,000 feet sharpish, make the turn in, slowing down on this turn. Probably getting the first flap, so 20 degrees of flap maybe. So that would be 2 stages, wouldn't it? 20 degrees of flap as we head off around this turn, just to get the airplane slowed down. Flap limit speeds, 0 to 30, we have to be below 174, so that's the hard part, getting below 174. And in we go. Autopilot will be out, so we'll visually fly this last bit, and then the runway itself has a huge bump in it, so it goes very up and very down, so it's actually going to be quite hard to get a smooth landing. That's my excuse. Big bump on the runway. It's not the longest airport in the world either. I'm assuming there was no problem for the CRJ though, 2,300 meters, but you do have this inset, so the actual landing distance for us on 06 is about 2,000 meters. What's funny about Alesund is you land uphill here, you get over the bump about here, and then it's going downhill. So if you're fast here and you're going down this hill, you're just looking at water at the other end. It's quite remarkable. Yeah, absolutely love it. So that's going to be the plan. If we have to do a missed approach, seeing as there is air traffic, it's hideous. We're going to do a left turn, intercept radio 059. So we'll do that off our needle down here, as we've been doing, out to 8 miles, then make a left turn, fly 10 DME arc all the way around to Tom there. That's a long DME arc. We'll try and use a gyro pilot for that to reduce our workload, and then in theory enter a hold, but hopefully I would like to go straight back around. Actually, you can't do it. You need to go back to the VIG and get outbounds. Or we could get radar vectored onto this inbound. That would be the alternative, wouldn't it? Yeah. MSAs are high to the east, 5,000, 6,400. Relatively high even to the south, actually, 5.4, but 2.7 off where we'll be making the first part of the approach anyway. Approach weather was great. I was on live weather. This is AC455. Excellent. Thanks, AC455. It's great to have people flying ahead of us. We always get the gossip early. Savage says, make tiny movements on the throttle. Yeah, that's my plan. Yep. Oh, was that for the CRJ? Well, it worked. I'm sure it'll work for this as well. Flying for fun. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Espen says, oof, I didn't hear we were going flying in Norway. Hello from Kristiansand, though. Ah, there we go. We just left Kristiansand, Espen. But thanks for joining us. Yeah, we're going to go back to Kristiansand at some point because I'll also want to fly into there. Both of these, by the way, scenery provided by ORBX. So thank you to ORBX for letting us have access to that. Michael says, I've had some issues with Simlink. Yeah, but Simlink seems to be working for the overlay, so I don't know what's going on. Anyway, let's do some descent planning. I need to be down, we're at 12,000 feet. I need to be down at 4.5, so let's make it 4, make it easy. So that's 8,000 feet to lose before I reach the hold, which is the VOR. 8 times 3, 8, 16, 24, 34. I'm going to descend at 34 miles because I know it's actually not that easy. And I don't want to be doing the hold whilst ascending. 3-degree descent at these speeds is about, it's just over 1,000 feet per minute. I mean, we need our true airspeed really, 230 knots, so yeah, maybe 1,100 feet per minute. Thank you, Walter62, for your subscription. How is everyone finding the chat? Is there any issue? Has anyone subscribed who didn't want to and is now in the chat and wants to complain at me for making them subscribe before they can chat? Let me know. AC455 managed 1.3G. Excellent, very nice. Savage Hater says, all my landings are better. Very good. Rakon says, with that water down the runway, pressing the ditching seal switch is then part of the approach procedure. No, funny enough, it's not. Flying for Fun says, how have you been handling the heat in the UK? Yeah, it's been okay. I've been fine. I've got a couple of pets, so just trying to keep them cool. But the new trick I tried today was, which I'm sure those of you who live in warmer climates are familiar with. In fact, let's start the descent. So, engineer, descent power please. Altitude hold mode off. And I'm going to start a descent. And I want about 1,000 feet per minute. And here's our traffic. 12932.
Descent checklist, please. Altimeters and flight instruments cross-checked. Seatbelt signs on. On. Engine blow is low. Low. Descent checks are complete.
Right, that's 1,000 feet per minute. So you hear the RPM go up. It's funny because if you increase the RPM, you actually get more drag out of the engines, out of the propellers. Oh yeah, we need to get the weather. And this is where we find out they're on the other runway. Yeah, they are. They're on the RS24. I can't believe it. Ah, they're using 06 now. Okay. And anyway, in case those of you wondering,
Okay, so me for Quebec approach.
view 2,700 feet, 13 degrees Celsius, so pretty cool. QNH 1020. I'll need to convert that. Can someone convert 1020 to millibars? The wind is 350 at 4.
Green star 03. When you have done that, you can see that
Look at the view out the window. Unbelievable.
Okay,
they may be controlling another airport too.
The green star 0.
Thanks for the subscription, Global Flyer 2017. Alesund, good evening. Manta 285 descending to any altitude you like. DC-6, we have QNH 1020.
What did you say your call time was again?
Manta 285.
Manta 285. Hello, Alesund. Christian Moore approach. Squawk 4143.
Squawk 4143, Manta 285. 4143.
Manta 285, turn left heading 340 vectors for the VR approach 06.
Left heading 340, vectors for the VOR 06, Manta 285. We'd like a long final, please. Maybe 15 miles at least.
Yeah, copy. Will give you a good final Manta 285.
Excellent, thank you. Right. Get the nose going down faster. Let's get the squawk in. 4143. Which all works on my Logitech, I think. Yeah, 4143, it does down there.
Manta 285, if you have an idea of what type of altitude you would like, it's up to you. I don't know how fast you will descend.
Can we go down to 5,000 feet for now? We're visual with the terrain.
Yeah, I will do 5,000 then if you're visual.
Yeah. So we'll descend to 5,000 feet and we'll stay visual. Manta 285. I mean...
Manta 285, that's going to be the 5,000 feet. QNH Alesund 1020. And that's into 3009. In 340.
Thank you very much. So QNH 3009, Manta 285. Thanks for that. There we go. It worked. Flight Sim's up to date. Microsoft Flight Simulator impressing me with the weather today because that's been spot on at both ends. So that's great. So we're descending now. We're not descending fast enough, are we? So let's get a bit more on. And he wanted heading 340. So I'm going to put it back to gyro pilot. This is what happens. It's called FCU bingo on the Airbus. It's when you just start pressing things and then it all goes wrong. So disconnect the clutch, engage the gyro, reconnect the clutch, and now I need to get us on to heading 340, which is a left turn. We're descending at 2,000 feet per minute. No, that's more than enough. But we are 21 miles out, so yeah. We've done the descent. Next is going to be in range. Thank you for the subscription to Kostas and to Zazu. Savage Hater says, why do they say information India or Kilo? What does it mean? It's just to tell them which one you have. So they label each one with a name depending on the time it was issued. It changes every half an hour, so they'll know if you've got old information. So we are screaming down now. This is going to be a rapid descent. So we need to shadow this one out. Yeah, it's such a beautiful part of the world. Oh, no, what am I doing? We need to be back inside. Because we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be on 340. Keep forgetting there's no heading bug.
Right heading 1.
So descent is good.
Okay,
Passing 6,000 feet. We're on the QNH. We're very visual. We know the MSAs are higher. So Alesund's somewhere over there. In fact, we can see it. It's off to our right. It's exactly 90 degrees. It's just over there. So if you go to Alesund and fly, you can actually head out through some of these fjords and then circle around to the airport. Just beautiful. I think we're probably doing alright for the altitude. Let's get the speed under control now, because we are seriously fast.
So 285, descend 4,000 feet.
Descend 4,000 feet, Manta 285. Okay.
4,000 feet.
340. Getting towards 340. Aviation Forever, good to see you. E-Boss, good to see you as well. Glad you like the flight. Yeah, it sounds like he's covering Molde as well. Now, Molde is an interesting airport. That's the one we'll have to visit as well at some point.
I'm going south to the 3-1. You can resume and direct.
Keep descending. Keep descending.
Okay, returning to
Not that much. Very, very sensitive, this trim wheel. 340 is there, so we're going to click the center. Right, so new plan. We're going to be radar vectored from the south. I've asked for 15 miles at least, so we should be way wide. So what I'm going to do is set my inbound course already, have it ready to go. It's going to be 077. Sorry, 078. Same plan then, but I want to get flap out by the time I'm on that inbound. Thanks, Bonnie, for your subscription. Rock on and enjoying the reflection on the engines. Yeah, it's amazing. Apologies to any questions or chat I've missed. Gonna get busy from now on. Digi27, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Got an ashtray in there. Yeah, in the video I watched earlier, that United video, they showed passenger smoking sitting in the back of one of these.
Pilot 285, descend 3,000 feet.
Descend 3,000 feet, Manta 285. Right, so we're getting close to that. It's time to shallow out. I think he's being helpful for us, but as I say, we're very effectively doing a visual approach here. We have managed heading 340, so speed should start to come back now, but this is where I get nervous. I'm going to do the in-range checks.
Cooling turbine. Normal. Fuel booster pumps.
Problem is we're 15 miles away.
About 3-1, report speed.
On low.
This isn't good enough. Because we're just too close. I don't want to do a 10-mile final.
Reduce speed 160 or not.
Reducing 160 or not.
Complete.
Okay, in-range checks complete. Now I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to bring the power back, hopefully without damaging the engines. We're going to level at 3,000 feet, but with that back, we should slow down a little bit quicker. Can't see a thing out the window in the clouds.
Land 285, turn left heading 310.
Left heading 310, Manta 285. Okay, we might have more space than I thought. He's looking after us nicely. Crucially, we need to level off soon.
Left to
310.
Number 1.
Yeah, there we go. And let's get the nose up. The altitude hold on.
So 285, you're number 2 in sequence. That's a 737 coming in behind you.
Oh, Roger, thanks. Manta 285. Very nice of the controller to tell us, and I would much rather that, because we rushed in last time. So now, what's good is we're getting. I can re-engage the in-range,
Cooling turbine. Normal.
and I think they'll take over the throttles.
Fuel booster pumps.
Yes, but it does take them a while to set it. But
Fuel tank selectors.
here we go, 3,000 feet.
Lanes on.
Oh, I've gone way too far through it though.
Hydraulic bypass valve. Down. No smoking signs.
Let's get back to our heading.
Meta 285 is doing 180 here. Return back, left heading 010 if you want.
Sorry, yeah. Left to 010. Thanks, Manta 285. Goodness me. It's without having a heading bug, I'm constantly getting distracted from the fact that it's not going to roll out. So we're going around to 010. I'm going to write that big writing on my book in front of me. Do a nice gentle turn. So I'm not going to cheat. We're not going to look at the map. We know where we are. We are sitting just to the northwest, I think, of the airport.
RNP approach runway 06, descend accordingly and report.
3,000 feet, 40, 50, 60 knots. That's good. All looking good.
Thank you.
Okay, it's coming together. Speed's back for once. Hardest part of this aeroplane. So we're actually going to have 100 BMEP soon. That's what we need to set. You can see why flying over water is so dangerous. If you've got haze or no clear horizon, and it's very easy for that horizon to disappear suddenly in the weather, and you end up with this sort of picture. Many people have got themselves into trouble like that. Not in a commercial airliner or IFR flying, but VFR. DG says, looks like a boat compass up on the dash. What is it? Yeah, it's the standby compass. I do not know why it's mounted like this with these springs, but that's what it is. Or the compass, I suppose, because it is slaved to the HSIs down here, like in a GA plane. Yeah, it is amazing, isn't it? This looks like a big wheel as well. This is the rudder trim. I mean, I would think I'd want that down here, but I suppose this came first. So big left until we're pointing north again. That's the plan. Chuck says, can't wait till I get this from my Series X next week, and I have the Airbus A320 NEO. Excellent, Chuck. Enjoy. Yeah, a lot of new people coming into the hobby soon, which is great. Just sitting in that cloud layer. You can turn faster, but I don't want to because I don't want to cause any trouble with the speed. So we're doing a really gentle turn.
Wind is 340.
Plus I forget. So we are 16 miles away. The VOR is going to be almost in front of us, so we're going to come in slightly from the south. Yep, slightly from the south and intercept that 0778. Sorry, 078. I don't know why I'm convinced it's 077. You see that even with slightly below 100 BMEP, that's a bit fast. So I'm actually going to put the first bit of flap out now. We're just below the limit speed, so let's go to flaps. That's the first notch, which is 10. And there you go, speed's coming back. Now I'm going to go to 20. Then we're going to level the wings. And hopefully from here we can intercept the 077. Time to make the approach. Flying around all day like this as I get more nervous of it. I must remember to start the replay tool, which is another thing I forgot to do last time and then ended up trying to do on final approach, which did not help things. Is it because of the resonance of the plane so it doesn't go all shaky at certain engine settings? Could be checkpoint, yeah, could be. You don't want that shaking around. You really want to know which way you're pointing. That's a good point, yeah. Justin says, you should try an arrival to Bordeaux also if you haven't done already. Good evening. Good evening, Justin. Thank you for joining us. And yeah,
I'll have to do that. Given heading east, BR approach from 06, report established.
Cleared VOR 06 Wilco, Manta 285. As expected then. So that's going to be localizer mode. We are 12 miles out. Speed's coming back to 140, so that's absolutely fine. Actually don't want it to wash off anymore, so I'm going to bring the flaps back up one stage. Intercepting the 077, I hope, which it looks like we are, as long as it makes another right turn. See, the problem here is if we get on the back of the drag curve, that nose is going to keep rising, which won't be good. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get established inbound, and then we're going to do the landing checks, but I'm going to be, sorry, before landing, because that doesn't configure you fully. In my preview video, I didn't actually configure fully for landing. We landed with flaps 20. You could hardly tell the difference, to be honest, but yeah, that's what I did, because I thought this would configure it fully, but it doesn't. 11.5. Remember, everybody, we are descending at 6.4. 6.4 is our descent point. And then we can check the altitudes as we come down. I thought we'd be visual. Aha, there we go. We are getting there. Okay, let's run those checks now. So flaps are going to 20. That's 070.
330 degrees at 3 knots. Variable.
Excuses are the runway. It's got a lump in it. PMDG DC-6 is really difficult for me. Here comes the gear. That's travelling. That's going to really start washing off the speeds. There it goes. Super cool. Super cool. And that's the traffic in front, actually. There's the traffic, and then there's the runway. And here goes the airplane intercepting for us. Lovely stuff. Speed's 140, but reducing. And there you go. He's just set 100 BMEP. Oh, I'm not going to let it go any slower. I don't want to go any slower than this. Right, descending in 2 miles. So, next step then. This is a long check, is this one. All good. 8.4, back at speed. 6.4, so basically about 7 miles. It's time to start down. So let's set 100 BMEP. We are visual. We can see roughly where we're going over there. 077. I can't do 100 just yet. It's just too early. With the gear and the flap out, it's too much drag. Thank you, Adanjay, for your $5 donation and the pair. Really appreciate it. I do apologise if I missed anything from now. So 7 miles. Autopilot's coming out. I do have control, which is working out. Let's set 100 BMEP. And according to PMDG, if we now put out flaps 30, it should just start itself down with a little bit of nose down trim. So down we go. Oh, keep it at 100. Flaps are at 30. Let's go to 40 because it's a bit of a steeper approach. 1,000 feet per minute is a little bit much. A bit of nose down trim required. Speed's washing off. Keeping it at 100. Okay, don't do too much. We think we need about 600 to 700 feet per minute. Now we're probably a little bit high. Let's check. 5 miles should be 25.10. Not bad. We're pretty much spot on. Now I don't want to spend too long fiddling between the charts, but if we keep 700 feet per minute, that worked out. So you can see why they said it. Keep that vertical speed, keep it trimmed, and we're sitting about 120. What'll happen is, without changing the power,
285, wind, Alesund 30, Kristiansand 330, 3 knots, bearable, 290 degrees, 020, runway 06 LM.
land 06, Mensa 285, thank you. Yeah, so without changing the power, when we put out flat full, the speed will wash back to about 110. And then that'll be us good to go. So there we go. We sort of managed. We did have to adjust the power on the start of the approach, but... Right, flight recorder... Oh, sorry. It's recording. We are obviously right of the inbound VOR, but I'm going to exploit the fact that I can see the runway to head over to that centre line myself. Just got to be careful. Every time I do any sort of control input, I notice the... do I have control of these, by the way? Yeah, I do. Good. I notice anytime I do a control input, the aeroplane picks up a big sink. So those big controls cause huge amounts of drag when you use them. Which can't be helping the situation. So now we're off autopilot now, DG. So if I move right, there you go. You can see we're on profile. Just got to make sure we don't sink anymore. There we go. Speed still 120. That's fine. Sorry if I miss any donations or subscriptions. But look at that. They were absolutely right. See, last time we did this all wrong. Got to listen to the tutorials from the people who made it. They're just not getting the trim quite right. So let's put out flat full now. And hopefully at 100 BMEP we'll stick at about 110 knots. But yeah, it's much calmer than what we did last time. Hard to see out. I do have to move the camera around. Right, landing is going to be a case of you can start to see the slope in the runway. Bit of a bump in that runway, so we'll be careful with that. Aside from that, it's not much of a flare, not much of a power change. Just reduce the power so we don't float up. And yeah, there we go, full flap. Yeah, reduce the power so we don't float up. And then a little bit of a flare, not too much, or we'll just cruise along the runway. And then I'm going to use reverse, hopefully, to slow down instead of the brakes. And it's a bit of a challenge on the rudder, this airplane, no doubt about it. So this is, we're using slightly different numbers. We use a bit more flat probably than the PMDG tutorial, just because we're not doing a 3-degree slope. This has been a 3.5 or 3.4, sorry, I think it was. Right. So this is ORBX scenery, absolutely beautiful. I love this approach. I love the view in front. You've got these sort of this valley of water that you're pointing towards, which I think is just lovely. Anyway, we did see the gear was down. I'm not going to worry too much about 2 whites to reds now, because that upslope is going to be what catches us. So we're flying visually. Don't want to go any faster though. No radio altimeter for us today. So trickling the power back, holding the nose here, letting the runway meet us. There it is. Idle. Oh, bit of a bounce. Focus on the centre line. There's reverse. Get those engines reversing. It does use some rudder to keep it straight after touchdown. If you're not, we weren't perfectly lined up there, and you really felt it. So, welcome to Alesund. Yeah, absolutely lovely. A bit more cloudy than I'd hoped, so we missed out on some of the spectaculars. The sun usually sets just over there.
285, hello, welcome to Alesund. Very good landing, start on the frame. Alpha, stand 1-4 for you, my friend.
Thanks so much. Thanks for controlling us. And Alpha Stand 1-4, thanks, Manta 285. Very helpful controller who's in our chat, I believe, helping us out. Right, before I get too distracted. So this is what happens. You reach this point, and if you're rolling fast, or if you say you want to do a backtrack, you've got to go down there, and then it's down a really surprisingly steep hill for an airport, and all you can see is water at the other end, so quite something. But yeah, we made it down. So how was that? Everyone says it was spot on, says DG. Very good. I'm glad you liked it. A couple of subscriptions. Thanks, Ads and Jerome. I hope you do it. What did we end up with? Bracer snack, yeah. Well, I would have been racing too. So back to full power. Now, before those engines overheat, because the cowl flaps are relatively closed and so on, so we can't sit here for long like this. So what I'm going to do is say after landing, please, to the engineer. We do have a replay to watch. It won't look quite right, but it'll be good enough. Oh, there we go. It's Adrian. Thanks, Adrian Frostborn, for joining us and for doing that. Yeah, the slope runway is a nice detail. So we're going to go park. There you go. That was a quick after landing checklist. Park on stand 1-4. I wonder where stand 1 is, but there we go. Stand 1-4, somewhere in the middle there. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Justin says butter. Okay, was it? It felt all right. There's a little bit of a skip, a little bit of a bounce, because I think what I did was I took the power off maybe a little bit too early, and then combined with exactly what I said I wouldn't do, a little bit too much flare. So yeah, but no, I think that was okay. It's you've got to have this airplane really straight down the runway, and I didn't. So that's where after touchdown the rudder, you have to do a lot of work on the rudder. Yorks is what causes the bouncing. It's just I don't know. Maybe just a little bit too fast. Maybe we were sort of closer to 120, and I wanted to be about VREF was 108, and by the time you're in a landing, you want to be a bit slower than that. So perhaps I didn't get the speed back properly. But we're playing the bump, exactly. Playing the bump in the runway. Checkpoint says, I always enjoy the streams. Usually working on my scenery then, but I took the month off. Yeah, no, take a break. You can't do these things constantly. It's a lot of work, especially as it's summer. A tad too fast and still floating, says Thero. Yeah, I could agree with that. Right, we're going to park up next to our Manta colleague. After landing check's done. Ed, glad you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for coming along. Rakon says, beautiful approach. The progress you made in the adaptations is remarkable. Thanks so much, Rakon. Really appreciate it. Yeah, that was definitely, I'm much happier with that than last time we flew it. Much happier. So I'm going to park up, and then don't worry, guys, we'll get the replay out. Amazing. ORBX scenery is obviously so good. But I must tell you that they sent it to me. Go on airplane, you can do it. Yeah, that's the side stick rudder twitch. 87 says change point. There we go. I mean, it's helped by the fact this runway's upsloping. So even if we landed, we could land here with a positive feet per minute. That's the limitation of that system in this on the system I use anyway. But there we go. Right. Looks great, doesn't it? Our Manta Airlines over the years. There's our 1980s by our very own 8455, who was in chat today. Squeeze that. Parking brake on. Right. I'm going to disconnect from VATSIM, which has been excellent for us today. Great to have a controller there. Manta Home Airport, says Kitty. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you like the aircraft, because I absolutely agree. And we can shut it down. Should we do that?
Parking brake is set. Cut engines.
They're going to kill the engines for us. I've never done this part of the flight before. Algafix put some Alesund pics in the Discord server. Thanks very much, Algafix. I'll take a look. Everywhere you go, it's there. It's 8445. Yeah, in my simulator, every airport is a Manta destination. And it all goes quiet. And we've done it. How long was that flight in the end? How long have we been streaming? 3 hours. 2 hours. 2 hours 20 we've been going, haven't we? Yeah, 2 hours 20. Okay, good. Beer, says DG27. There you go, exactly. Right, so yeah, thank you all for coming along. And there's that obvious menu. Thank you all for coming along. I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely did. This is absolutely great fun. I'm going to close the charts, and what we're going to do is stop recording the replay. Right, now here's the trick. How do we get that replay up for you guys? I'm assuming you want it. Does anyone want it? That's worth a screenshot. Yeah, actually, that is a good point. Would you guys like to see the replay? It would take me a minute to start up the airplane and get it going. Pizza, Morton, probably. I usually go for sort of a margarita style, and that's possibly what I'm going to end up with in a minute. You're welcome, JB. Control E. We can try it. I don't think it works in PMDG. Oh, there's one. Wow. Well, I'm impressed if it does any more. Replay. Okay. And let me just check the notifications. So thanks for those subscriptions. Thanks to Dan J. Suresh for your $5 donation. Did I miss that one? I think I did. So thank you so much, Dan J. That's very kind of you. And I apologise. I think that was the pair, actually. I think I remember that one. Right. That sort of worked. There is a panel states in here, but I must confess, I don't find it works very well. Cold and dark. I'll let it just shut down. Then ready for start. I'll let it get ready for start. We should be able to fly on one engine, says Checkpoint. Yeah, it does fly on two in that. Ready for takeoff. Oh, ha! Nah, just one engine. Okay. No worries. Everything's in the right place. So I reckon we can get these engines up in no time and get a replay. Thanks for your subscription, Witrex.
9, 12.
Engine 2's online. Just to give me 2 minutes and we'll have it ready for the flight. Do engine 3. I know this is in the wrong order. We'll get those boost pumps on, which definitely would help. Jonathan Gunthauser says, have to go. Nice landing, nice stream as always. And you even got ATC for the landing. See you next time. Have a lovely night. Thanks very much, Jonathan. See you next time. Thanks for joining us. I think we have 4 engines. We do. Right. Here we go. Flaps are out, gears down. It's working. So this is what we did. You can see why it's so pretty. You're welcome, Santiago. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for your subscription to Mo. Let's just zoom down to the runway. Well, we know we didn't do that. Such a pretty place. What I will do is just make it a little bit more light. There we go, into the flare. A little bit too much energy. You can see with that nose down. Well, that's funny. That wasn't as bad as I thought. Once more. So you can hear me pull the power. I use flight recorder for the replay, Simon. So we're into the flare. You want to get that nose up because otherwise it's easy to land on the nose wheel in this airplane. So I pull the power to keep the nose coming up. Just a bit of power off. There's the nose. Tiny bit. Yeah, you can see what it was. That little flare I did as I pulled the power was a little like overkill. So when I did that, the nose comes up a bit too much. So as we touch down, the airplane's still getting enough lift and it sort of takes a second for that to take effect. There we go. Made it down, rolled out. Lovely. And here we are in Alesund. Yeah, that's all right. We'll take that considering where we were at one point with this aeroplane. So there's the offset approach. Let's jump into a wing view. Is there any view in particular you guys would like to see? I think that one. I think we're going to go with that one. Yeah, we'll go with that one. And I'm going to say thank you all so much for coming along. Thank you for indulging me as I fly another aircraft that isn't the Airbus. I do really appreciate it. Let's go back to here. Let's just check how high are we if we do that. About 1,500 feet. That should work out, I believe. Maybe a little bit lower. Yeah, thank you all so much for coming along. I really appreciate it. I've really enjoyed this one. There'll be plenty more coming. So we've got more videos. Plenty of videos have gone up on the channel in the last week. If you haven't seen those, do please leave a like on the way out. Although I can see we've already got more likes and viewers, so that's very, very good. Thanks, Dougal. Thanks for coming along. Thank you so much to the moderators. Thank you to the new subscribers. Thank you to those of you who joined in with the chat. But also thanks to everyone who's just watched along at home. I really appreciate it. Thank you all. You guys are all taking this channel where it's got to and where it will go in the future. So yeah, really thanks so much. And again, thanks to the moderators for taking the time to come and look after us. And thank you to those very, very kindly donated. Really appreciate it. There'll be more live streams to come, more videos on the channel, so do please subscribe if you'd like to see those. One last request for those of you who are still here. If you are subscribed, YouTube is complaining to me that not many of my subscribers have the notifications turned on or the bell icon or something like that. So if you are able to do that, that would make a big difference to the channel, it seems. But yeah, a like is more than enough. So thank you so much. Replay music coming now, and I'm going to say thank you all once again. Do keep safe and well. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.